Welcome to my channel. Like and subscribe for more stories. American Comics, Level 5 Mutants start with Gojo Satoru. Chapter 41 The White Devil emerged from the nuclear explosion. Reversal spell experience +1. Congratulations, your skill reversal technique has been upgraded. Reversal spell LV2, 107/300 turn the negative energy of the spell itself into positive energy, which has a strong healing effect. Spell reversal He experience +1. Congratulations, your skill spell reversal He has been upgraded. Spell reversal He LV3, 19/1000 repulsive force is generated with He as the center. The minimum power is twice that of Cang, and the maximum output is positive infinity, similar to a small supernova. After the high-intensity battle just now, both the reversal technique and the technique reversal H have been upgraded by one level. Among them, because the technique has no lower limit and the previous enemies can hardly cause damage to Sub-Mu's body, the reversal technique has not been upgraded for a long time. In this battle with the destroyer armor, he needed to use the reversal technique to continuously treat the injuries caused by the energy beam, so the reversal technique that he had already accumulated a certain amount of experience was finally upgraded, and he was a big step away from level 3. The healing effect of the LV2 reversal technique on the body has been greatly enhanced, and the recovery speed of injuries has been greatly improved. Now the healing speed of the reversal technique, coupled with the recovery speed of energy absorption, has reached the level of Wolverine. However, the reversal technique at this time still cannot be used on other people. It should be possible when it reaches level 3. Thinking of this, Sub-Mu decided to practice the reversal spell more. After all, when Jane Foster came to deliver the food, she would still need to reverse the spell to take out the reality gem. And Sub-Mu is also looking forward to the effects of high-level reversal spells. The highest achievement of reversal spells in the spell battle is to become a master and be able to use reversal spells to heal others. So what kind of abilities will you have when the level of the reversal technique exceeds that of Irie Glass and reaches a higher realm? Immortality? Return from the dead? Restore matter to its original state? Or is it another more magical effect? As for the reversal of the spell H, the power was increased again. Turning his palm upward, the spell power surged, and a black and red singularity the size of a basketball appeared above Sub-Mu's palm, floating steadily. Throwing out the black-red singularity, accompanied by violent whines and strong vibrations on the ground, there was once again a gully more than 10 meters wide in the center of the huge gully, tens of meters wide in front. The power of the spell reversal He is once again increased several times. Looking at the ravine left by the reversal of He in front of him, Sub-Mu smiled with satisfaction. In addition to the upgrade of the two skills, there are other gains. The laser emitted by the destroyer armor has extremely high energy. After absorbing this energy, Sub-Mu gained a large number of energy points. At this time, all energy points are invested into the character template, and the fusion degree of the character template has been increased from 60% to 67%. If it weren't for the fact that the destroyer armor couldn't be carried around and was difficult to control, and there was a risk of being troubled by Odin, Sub-Mu would have wanted to use the destroyer armor to continuously absorb energy. However, even if the energy absorption reaches level 4, the arc reactor has not been eliminated. Sub-Mu calculated the current energy absorption speed and found that it would take about 5 arc reactors to supply energy together to meet his daily needs. Sure enough, getting infinite gems should be put on the agenda as soon as possible. Just when Sub-Mu was about to return, a harsh roar suddenly came from the distance. After hearing this strange sound, Sub-Mu felt that his body suddenly stopped, but he recovered instantly under the control of Li Huyan. His face, which had just regained its composure, became happy again, and the fruits he had planted before finally sprouted. A giant missile fell from the sky, and Sub-Mu stood still without moving. It was just a nuclear bomb, nothing more. Good Samaritans are sending energy again. The next moment, a dazzling light burst out suddenly, like the sun falling, an endless light and heat enveloped everything around it. In a small town in the distance, Thor and everyone suddenly saw a mushroom cloud rising from the distance, and a huge shock wave was about to spread to the small town. At this critical moment, Thor finally regained his power, summoned Thor's hammer, and brought several Jane Foster mortals further away, escaping the attack. The 4 warriors of Asgard followed closely behind, and after reaching the safe area, all of them looked at the scene in the distance. The explosion from humanity's most powerful weapon surprised even Thor. Why was Su-mu suddenly attacked by such a powerful weapon? Jane Foster explains for him. Su-mu's external identity is the White Devil. He is wanted by the authorities. Some time ago, I heard that the authorities have formulated a plan against him. I think this nuclear bomb must be the official handiwork. Being hit head-on by a nuclear bomb, even Su-mu wouldn't be able to survive. Sol stood up and said, I want to save him. Even if Su-mu dies, I will get his body back. But just as Thor took a step, he suddenly stopped, looked at the shrinking hot flames in front of him and said slowly, "Oh, it seems I don't need to take action anymore." In the distant military base, many generals can clearly see the conditions in the Goba through surveillance satellites. After seeing the White Devil being directly hit by a nuclear bomb, everyone immediately cheered. Located in the center of the nuclear bomb explosion, even the White Devil cannot survive. The world's greatest threat has finally been erased, and the White Devil will become history. Contact various media outlets, we need to report the news that the White Devil is dead. Let the world know that the White Devil has been killed by the military. When others were cheering for the successful killing of the White Devil, only Colonel Stryker was still staring at the mushroom cloud in the picture. Having been dealing with mutants for a long time, and even his own son is a mutant, he has a very good understanding of mutants and knows that mutants may not necessarily have any mutant abilities, especially a mutant as powerful as the White Devil. He is not surprised at all even if he walks out of the center of the nuclear bomb explosion intact. Suddenly, the mushroom cloud in the picture changed. The flames and impact that were originally expanding outwards at a rapid speed suddenly shrank visibly. A large amount of light and heat seemed to be absorbed by the black hole and could not escape at all. Other generals also saw this picture, and the smiles on their faces suddenly stopped, looking at the scene in front of them in disbelief. What happened? The energy generated by the nuclear bomb explosion is being quickly absorbed by something in the center area. Isn't his mutant ability suppressed by the mutant suppression device? Why can he still use it? Oh, God, is he really a human? In a moment, all the energy of the nuclear bomb explosion was completely absorbed. There was nothing else in the explosion area except a large area of smoke and dust. Even the melted ground cooled down again. Then a vague figure slowly walked out of the center area of the explosion, came to the area without smoke and dust that the monitoring satellite could see, raised his head and raised a middle finger to the sky. Please read and collect it. Chapter 42 Sentinel Robot. Seeing this scene, all the generals were silent. The thing they least wanted to see happened. The white-haired devil actually grew up enough to withstand a nuclear bomb in a short period of time. In this case, what other means on Earth can be used to harm him? One of the generals suddenly thought of something and asked Colonel Stryker. Colonel Stryker, why doesn't the mutant suppression device work on the white-haired demon? Other generals also discovered the problem. That's right, if the mutant suppression device is really effective, then even the white-haired demon will be just an ordinary person after losing his mutant ability, and there is no way he can survive a nuclear explosion. At this time, the white-haired demon's mutant ability can still be used, so it must be that the mutant suppression device cannot have the desired effect. All the generals cast questioning glances at Colonel Stryker. Being questioned by many generals, Colonel Stryker was silent for a moment before explaining. The medium used by the mutant suppression device this time is sound waves. If the sound is deliberately isolated, the effectiveness of the suppression device will be greatly reduced. It is thought that the white-haired devil used this method to become immune to the effect of the suppression device. But don't worry, generals, we have a backup method, which is a white-haired devil suppression device that is made using the white-haired devil's detailed information and is only aimed at the white-haired devil. The effect of this suppression device is dozens of times more powerful than that of ordinary mutant suppression devices. And the medium of action of the new device is electromagnetic waves, which is almost impossible to block. However, because the scope of this device is limited, it was not used immediately. But I have installed it on every sentry robot. These sentry robots not only carry devices to suppress the white-haired demon, but also replicate the space attack capabilities against the white-haired demon. They will definitely kill the white-haired demon. After hearing Colonel Stryker's follow-up arrangements, many generals looked at him with admiration. They finally relaxed and regained confidence in the plan to kill the white-haired demon. Walking out of the center of the nuclear explosion, Su-mu burped and absorbed all the energy of a nuclear bomb explosion. Even he was almost filled to the brim, and the energy in his body was about to overflow. If it were not possible to continuously convert energy into energy points and put them into character templates, Su-mu would not be able to carry all the energy of a large-yield nuclear bomb explosion. Even so, he had the urge to explode at this moment and couldn't help but release all the energy in his body. At this time, through the long-sightedness of his 6 eyes, Su-mu discovered dozens of strange-looking robots that were approaching, and the boiling power in his body suddenly had a place to display. When those robots first appeared, Su-mu recognized them as sentinel robots designed to annihilate mutants. The sentry robot can detect any form of mutant abilities, and instantly transform itself based on these abilities to obtain different types of mutant abilities to achieve targeted effects. However, at this point in time, the sentry robots in front of them should be far from reaching the final stage, and they should not be able to transform the X gene as they wish and obtain different mutant abilities. Su-mu guessed that they should only be able to load 2 or 3 mutant abilities at the same time, which would definitely include the space attack ability against him. However, I used to be able to break through his space attack. I wonder if I can still break through after the unlimited spell is upgraded to LV3? Surveillance satellites in the sky transmitted images of the Gobit to the military base. Many generals and Colonel Stryker looked nervously at the images in front of them. If this encirclement and suppression failed again, it would mean that they would no longer be able to restrain the white-haired devil. There's a way. Suddenly, they noticed that the white-haired demon in the picture took action. Instead of running away, he rushed straight towards dozens of machines. This made many generals and Colonel Stryker extremely excited. What they were most afraid of was that the white-haired demon would escape directly or attack the sentry robot remotely. The range of action of the suppression device and space attack on the white-haired demon is very close, and there is nothing that can be done against distant enemies. If the white-haired demon really escapes directly, or hides and attacks from a distance, then the sentry robot will be unable to do anything. After the white-haired demon completely entered the range of the suppression device, Colonel Stryker immediately ordered, "Activate the white-haired demon suppression device." At the same time, Su-mu heard the sound of electric current coming from the sentry robot in front, and then felt that the energy in his body stagnated for a moment, and then recovered instantly. He immediately realized that this was the effect of the mutant suppression device, but unfortunately, the mutant suppression device had no effect on him at all. Using a spell to reverse Cang, the huge gravitational force connected him to the distant space, and he stepped across 100 meters in one step to arrive in front of a sentry robot. Putting his palm on the head of the sentry robot, a black and red singularity erupted in his palm, and the terrifying repulsion continued to spread forward. The sentry robot whose head was held down by Su-mu was destroyed first, and the black singularity continued to move forward, until it was destroyed. Only then did a dozen sentry robots stop. The command room in the distance fell into silence again. Stryker looked at the white-haired demon who ignored the suppression device in disbelief. The white-haired demon actually destroyed more than a dozen sentry robots with just one strike, which made him doubt for the first time whether he could successfully hunt the white-haired demon. Why did the white-haired demon completely ignore the suppression device? You know, it was a special suppression device designed for him according to his ability data. The experimenters even confirmed that this suppression device can suppress the white-haired demon for at least several hours. But what about this time? Not even a second, it has no effect at all. A strong sense of uneasiness enveloped Colonel Stryker, and he could only constantly comfort himself. It doesn't matter, we still have space attacks. The white-haired demon can't resist space attacks and will definitely be killed by the Sentinel robot. Under his command, the Sentinel robot immediately released space attacks on the white-haired demon. The numerous space attacks were like a dense fishing net, trying to trap the white-haired demon in it, leaving him no chance to escape. Facing the many space blades flying towards him at high speed, Su-mu did not show any nervousness. This attack that could threaten him in the past can no longer have any effect on him. The flying speed of the space blade was extremely fast for him in the past, but after the 6 eyes were upgraded to level 3, it could be easily captured. If Su-mu wanted, he could easily avoid it. However, Su-mu did not do so. After dodging most of the space blades, he came to the front of the space blade and tried to use the unlimited spell to resist the attack of the space blade. The space blade that can easily break through the LV1 unlimited spell will immediately slow down and move forward at a snail's pace after entering the range of the LV3 unlimited spell. Facing the LV3 unlimited spell, the space blade can no longer break through easily. Looking at the space blade moving at a snail's pace in the unlimited spell, Su-mu came to the conclusion that it seems that the LV4 unlimited spell can be completely immune to space attacks. After the experiment, Su-mu stretched out his index finger and pointed it at the space blade in front. The azure black hole the size of a ping-pong ball and the black and red singularity of the same size merged in front of him, forming an illusion sphere emitting purple thunder, and then rushed forward. The purple illusion sphere instantly annihilated the space blade, and continued to fly forward, annihilating all the Sentinel robots on the path ahead until it disappeared at the end of the site. Please read and collect. Chapter 43 The White Devil Laughing Wildly in the Ruins, please read on. Chapter 43 The White Devil Laughing Wildly in the Ruins. In just a moment, most of the Sentinel robots were easily destroyed by the White Devil. The Sentinel robots could not cause any damage to the White Devil, even the space attack that Colonel Stryker had high hopes for had no effect, not to mention the other weapons loaded on it. In the projected picture, the White Devil's slaughter of the Sentinel robots continued. The White Devil was like a white ghost, traveling through the rain of bullets. Neither the space blade nor the other weapons carried by the Sentinel robots could touch him at all. The White Devil was too fast, and even the most advanced locking technology could not lock him, so most of the ammunition could not play a single role and could only be wasted. In addition, the generals present observed more details. The White Devil did not deliberately avoid the attack, nor did he use that weird space defense ability. He could now withstand the rain of bullets and be unscathed by himself. At most, he just used the purple mysterious sphere to destroy the space blade. His physique has grown to such a level, and he has mastered another new powerful mutant ability, which can penetrate space. If he can continue to use the purple sphere attack, he may be able to flatten a city in a few minutes. Don't forget that the White Devil has the mutant ability of energy absorption. If there is enough energy for him to absorb, he can definitely do it. No, the plan against the White Devil is cancelled. Even nuclear bombs can't hurt him. He has grown to the point where we can't confront him head-on. Agree. Agree. Many generals expressed their opinions. Suddenly one of the generals thought of something. Quick, stop contacting the media. If the media knows that our plan has failed, it will definitely be announced. At that time, the military's credibility will drop significantly. But a signalman said to him with a bitter face, "General, we have notified all the media." Looking at the signalman in front of him, the general's face turned pale immediately. For the first time, he wanted the soldiers' execution to be not too strong. The other generals also heard the signalman's words and realized what was about to happen. Those omnipresent media will definitely find out what happened in New Mexico and know that our plan against the White Devil has failed. Put pressure on the media and prohibit them from publishing any news about the White Devil. We can't block all the news, those journalists are crazy. As soon as one general proposed, another general immediately refuted. The conference room fell into silence again. The incident still developed to the worst situation. The generals present began to regret attacking the White Devil. Colonel Stryker on the side remained silent, but clenched his fists, and his nails even pierced the skin and oozed blood. He kept screaming in his heart, repeating a name. White Devil. Obviously, he would never give up his plan against the White Devil. And if he is willing to take all the risks, then these generals will definitely support him secretly. Now that the Sentinel robot has collected more information about the White Devil, he doesn't believe that the White Devil can still deal with it when the Sentinel robot becomes more and more perfect. When all the ammunition approached Su-mu, all the energy was absorbed, and they could not cause any injury to him, but instead allowed him to obtain a steady stream of energy points. Most of the attacks of the Sentinel robots had no effect on him, and only the space blades needed to be avoided. However, the Six Eyes could capture perfectly, and the virtual style could destroy the space blades, so the Sentinel robots that were enough to make most mutants were despair just stake woodens with no resistance in Su-mu's eyes. Finally, the black flash was swung, accompanied by the blooming of black and red thunder, and the last intact Sentinel robot was smashed to pieces by the terrifying force. So far, all the Sentinel robots have been destroyed. All the excess energy in the body was put into the system, and the fusion degree of the character template was increased again, and it had reached 72% at this time. The energy points for increasing the template fusion degree by 1% will be greatly increased for every 10%. After reaching 70%, the energy points required for each 1% increase in fusion degree are an astronomical number. If Su-mu only relied on absorbing nearby electricity as he did at the beginning, even if he continued to absorb it for several months, it would be difficult to increase the template fusion degree by 1%. At this time, almost all the energy of a nuclear bomb explosion was absorbed, and it only increased by 6%. In this way, even if all the energy in an arc reactor was absorbed, it would not be able to increase the system fusion degree much. However, Su-mu's goal was no longer the arc reactor. His goal was the 6 Infinity Stones, especially the Power Stone as the source of energy. He must get it. In addition, there are other energies that can be plundered. Whether it is absorbing the energy of a planet like the Celestial Group, or artifacts like the Eternal Fire, they contain great power for Su-mu to absorb. So he is not afraid of not having enough energy to unlock the template fusion degree. In addition, Su-mu has other considerations. Since his own ability can be upgraded, if he masters the portal, can he continue to improve it? You should know that if you just master the portal, you can be teleported to any place you have been to. Among them, Ned, a good friend of Spider-Man in the movie world, can even open a portal next to a designated target. So what realm will the portal reach if it is upgraded again? Travel through time and space? Travel through latitudes at will? Even open portals to other worlds? Su-mu is very much looking forward to this. Since the Marvel world exists, other worlds also have the possibility of existence. If he upgrades the portal to a certain level, he can open portals to other worlds and finally lead to the world of Jujutsu Kaisen. Then using a stronger move than Gojo Satoru to defeat Gojo Satoru is undoubtedly an extremely pleasant thing. Especially saying that classic line in front of Gojo Satoru. I am the only one in the world. It really makes my brain tremble just thinking about it. P.S. How do you feel? After everything was over, Thor and others in the distance began to approach. When they came to the edge of the battlefield, they saw the next scene. The smoke and dust covered the whole world, and countless huge depressions like those caused by falling meteorites were spread all over the land. A large amount of ammunition and missile debris were displayed on the sand. In the most central area, at the end of the scar on the earth caused by the purple horror sphere, in the center of the circular pit left by the nuclear explosion, the familiar yet unfamiliar white demon floated in the air 1 meter away from the bottom of the pit. He seemed to be recalling the battle just now, or thinking of something that made him happy. At this time, he was covering his forehead with his right hand, facing the sky, and slowly pulling a smile from the corner of his mouth, which then gradually expanded into a big laugh until it was unbridled. Please read and collect it. Chapter 44, The Supreme Mage, please read on. Chapter 44 Supreme Mage. Thor and others immediately stopped and did not dare to move forward. Among them, Sif, one of the 4 warriors of Asgard, whispered. What a dangerous guy. Everyone else nodded, fully agreeing with her words. Seeing Sol and others approaching, Su-mu fell back to the ground, and then heard Sol say. I plan to leave. There are still things in God's domain that I need to deal with. Su-mu nodded, smiled, and said to Sol. Help me thank Loki and urge him to come to Earth as soon as possible to deliver the express. Of course Su-mu knew what Thor would face when he returned this time, the invasion of the Frost Giants, and that in order to prevent Loki from destroying the country of the Frost Giants, he would personally destroy the Rainbow Bridge, making it impossible to return to Earth immediately. However, this also means that Loki is about to fall into the abyss of the universe, and will meet Thanos next. He will be given the spiritual scepter by him, and he will be teleported back to Earth, where he plans to use the space cube to open the portal and prepare for the invasion of the Kiritas. And the spiritual scepter is also the takeaway that Su-mu has been waiting for. Although he didn't know what Su-mu meant by this sentence, Sol still said, I will. Then he said goodbye to Jane Foster and promised to come back, and then left with the 4 warriors of Asgard in the colorful light beam lowered from the Bifrost Bridge. After the light of the Rainbow Bridge completely disappeared, Su-mu said to Jane Foster. Don't forget to seek treatment from me. As soon as he finished speaking, he took a step forward and disappeared from the sight of Jane Foster and others. He will find Tony, obtain a new arc reactor, and then return a big gift to the military. The military gave them a mushroom, so it's not too much for him to give them a piece of peace, right? Leaving New Mexico, Su-mu flew towards Tony Stark's beach house at high speed. After the energy upgrade reaches LV4, he can already use teleportation to transfer himself continuously without fear of injury. In addition, after the reversal technique reaches level 2, in addition to greatly speeding up the treatment speed, the brain damage caused by long-term brain use can also be continuously treated, so that Su-mu can maintain the unlimited technique for a long time. Moreover, LV3's no lower limit spell can already initially identify dangers. Objects that are not a threat to him will not be affected by the no lower limit spell, while threatening objects will be excluded. It's late afternoon, and the seaside villas are brightly lit at night. The party hosted by Tony Stark, the richest man in the world, was gorgeous and extravagant. A large number of hot-figured ladies only wore sporadic fabrics to cover their vital parts. They constantly showed themselves at the party, hoping to attract the attention of the protagonist. The interweaving of lights, beauties, and drinks makes the entire seaside villa filled with a strong hormonal atmosphere. At this time, the seaside villa is undoubtedly a paradise for any man. Tony Stark was obviously drunk in the center of the dance. He had just peed in his steel armor and had an argument with Pepper Potts. Later, he used weapons on the steel armor and threw them into the sky at the invited ladies. Drinks shot as entertainment. Just then, a voice broke the lively atmosphere of the party. Colonel Rhodes came out wearing another steel suit and yelled at everyone in the team. I only say this once, get out. The banquet immediately fell silent, the lively atmosphere disappeared immediately, and everyone looked at Rhodes. Just when Rhodes thought everyone was about to leave, he suddenly realized something was wrong. Did the people in front react a little too fiercely, as if they might die at any time? But he won't kill them. Suddenly, Rhodes realized that those people were not looking at him, but behind him. The unconscious trembling and fear in his body were also caused by someone behind him. Rhodes realized something immediately, but before he could turn around, a palm with slender fingers and clear bones pressed on his shoulder. This palm contained terrifying power. Even though he was wearing steel armor at this time, he was still overwhelmed by the huge force and could only kneel on one knee to resist the huge pressure. And the hard ground under his knees was also unable to withstand the huge pressure, and cracks slowly appeared. Until then, he finally heard a demonic whisper from behind. "Colonel Rhodes, how can the party stop? You don't want to make me angry, right?" Rhodes suddenly felt his body stiffen and turned his head one by one. Then he saw the handsome man with white hair and blue eyes put his hand on his shoulder and smiled at him, but the bright smile contained the ultimate malice. Colonel Rhodes immediately said from his heart, "I don't think the party should end either." The white-haired demon smiled with satisfaction, then walked forward, came to Tony Stark's side, and shouted to the many hot beauties in front of him. "Don't stop, keep playing music and keep dancing." The hot beauties, whose spirits had been eroded by alcohol, immediately put aside their fear of the white-haired devil and cheered loudly. The lights continued to flash and the screams grew louder. In addition to the energy attacks from the steel armor, there were also azure black holes and terrifying black-red singularities. Of course, the skills are all under Sumyu's control and will not cause any damage to the surroundings. Tonight is undoubtedly a wonderful night. When Sumyu woke up, it was already the next morning. He got up, dressed, stepped over a dozen naked bodies lying on the bed or on the floor, and walked out of the room to the lobby of the beach villa. Even though Sumyu had the reversal technique, he felt a little overwhelmed when dealing with a dozen hungry girls at once. When he walked into the living room, he found Tony was already waiting there, and some images were projected in front of him, which were the nuclear explosion in New Mexico and the white-haired man who walked out of the nuclear explosion. Hearing footsteps from the side, Tony turned his head and saw the white-haired man yawning, and his eyes were full of horror. Seeing this, Sumyu teased, "What's wrong? Don't look at me like that, my sexual orientation is normal." However, compared to Sumyu, Tony didn't have the leisure time. He looked at Sumyu in disbelief and asked a question that shocked him. "Were you really hit by a nuclear bomb head-on and walked out of it intact?" Sumyu looked at the projection in front of Tony and grinned. "Of course, it's very simple." "Simple? How did you do it?" "Tony, don't be surprised. In addition to me, there are many people who can do it, such as the Supreme Sorcerer of Kamartaj." "Supreme Sorcerer, who is that?" Just as Tony was about to continue asking, a spark suddenly flashed in front of the two of them, and a circular portal that kept sputtering sparks slowly formed. Finally, a bald woman with a kind face walked out of the portal. Please read, collect, and vote for the monthly ticket. Chapter 45 Sorcerer Supreme Tony Stark? Chapter 45 Supreme Sorcerer Tony Stark? When the bald woman walked out of the portal, even though her appearance was different from that in the movie universe, Sumyu still recognized her identity. Supreme Sorcerer. The moment he saw the Supreme Sorcerer, Sumyu's muscles tightened, and he used all his strength to strengthen his whole body with his mantra and energy. He was highly focused, and his 6 eyes were running at the limit, reaching his peak state. Facing a father-level strongman, even the current Sumyu dared not relax at all. Tony looked at the bald woman in front of him, and then carefully observed the portal behind her. He suddenly felt that since he openly admitted that he was Iron Man, the whole world had gradually become unfamiliar. First, there was the white-haired demon, then the Thor who descended on New Mexico, and the legendary Asgard. At this time, a bald woman in yellow opened the portal and broke into his home. Pretending to take the wine, Tony hid behind Sumyu, then picked up the bottle and poured it into 2 cups, handed 1 cup to Sumyu and kept the other for himself, and said to the bald woman in front of him, "Well, who are you? How did you achieve the light circle behind you?" "Mutant ability, some kind of technology," or other superpowers. The Ancient One, who had set his sights on Su-mu as soon as he appeared, finally moved his sight away from him and set his sights on Tony. Hearing Tony's question, the Ancient One smiled mysteriously, and said calmly and gently, "This is magic." "Okay, magic." Tony immediately believed the Ancient One's words. Since he knew that even the mythical Asgard really existed, it was normal for magic to exist. "So, this wizard, why are you here?" The correct term should be mystic wizard. Guyi first pointed out the mistake in Tony's words, then turned his eyes back to Su-mu, and then said, "I'm looking for this gentleman." Tony drank the precious red wine in the glass and spread his hands and said, "I knew it." Seeing the Supreme Mage mentioning himself, Su-mu couldn't remain indifferent. He showed a bright and genuine kind smile and said to the Supreme Mage, "Respected Supreme Mage, what do you want to talk to me about?" Seeing Su-mu's performance, Tony on the side was extremely incredible, especially seeing that the smile that always carried thick malice could be so bright, which made him feel a little uncomfortable. The next moment Tony immediately caught the name mentioned by Su-mu, the Supreme Mage. Could it be that the bald woman in front of him was the Supreme Mage who could also withstand nuclear bombs? Faced with two monsters who could withstand nuclear bombs, Tony felt uneasy. It seems that in addition to the white-haired demon armor, the Supreme Mage armor should also be put on the agenda. The Supreme Mage standing opposite Su-mu heard Su-mu's words and smiled at him, "I want you to be the new Supreme Mage, and I can teach you everything I know, as long as you are willing to help me protect the Earth before the next Supreme Mage appears." Su-mu was stunned. He didn't expect that the Supreme Mage actually wanted him to become the Supreme Mage. Did he want to retire early? This thought came to his mind, and Su-mu refused immediately without thinking, "Sorry, I don't plan to become the Supreme Mage." He didn't plan to become the Supreme Mage and protect the Earth. With this time, he constantly absorbed energy and unlocked more character templates. He had already surpassed the Supreme Mage and became a powerful existence that he couldn't compare to. The Supreme Mage was not surprised. She already knew the result. She just wanted to try it. Her main purpose was not these. The Supreme Mage took out a strange ring with two holes and controlled it to float towards Su-mu. "You seem to have the ability to increase your ability limit. If you can master the portal, you may be able to travel through latitudes at will in the future." Looking at the ring in his hand, Su-mu was a little surprised. He didn't expect to get the ring so easily. He asked the Supreme Mage, "What price do you need to pay for it?" The Supreme Mage shook his head, "You don't have to pay any price, but I suggest that you can travel to the parallel universe as soon as possible in the future. After all, the world is so big, you should go and see it." Su-mu's mouth twitched. Although his tone was euphemistic, he certainly heard the Supreme Mage's subtext, "I don't ask you too much, just spare this universe and do more harm to other parallel universes." But this just fits his idea. He has too many things he wants to witness, such as the extermination of the Zerg, the crazy attack event, the loss of the universe, the Infinity War, etc. The greatest charm of the Marvel world is the infinite possibilities in the infinite parallel universes. He can't be bound by a parallel universe. Seeing that Su-mu accepted the ring and completed the purpose of this trip, the Supreme Sorcerer wanted to leave, but was stopped by Su-mu. "Supreme Sorcerer, what do you think of Tony as the Supreme Sorcerer? With his brain, he can easily do it." Tony Stark didn't expect Su-mu to suddenly mention him and actually wanted him to become the Supreme Sorcerer. Now even Tony was a little at a loss, pointing at himself and said, "Me." Su-mu pushed Tony in front of the Supreme Sorcerer, and then said to him, "Don't you think that the collision of technology and magic can bloom more brilliant sparks?" Tony thought seriously and nodded. It is almost difficult to deal with a terrifying existence like Su-mu with the power of technology alone, and it takes time to climb the technology tree, so it is difficult to get more powerful power immediately. So at this time, learning from magic and combining it with technology may be a new way out. At the same time, the Supreme Sorcerer looked at Tony Stark, the genius and playboy in the eyes of the world. But her eyes were empty, as if she was not looking at Tony in front of her, but at the future under the long river of time. After a while, the Supreme Sorcerer smiled, "This gentleman will be an excellent Supreme Sorcerer." Su Mu smiled, and he knew that the Supreme Sorcerer agreed. After Su Mu's proposal, Tony left with the Supreme Sorcerer and went to Camartage to learn magic. Su Mu was very confident that Tony could learn magic, after all, he was the Supreme Sorcerer in a certain universe. And the Supreme Sorcerer did not reject this proposal, which also meant that Tony should be very talented. Carrying a backpack, Su Mu paced in the air and flew straight to Washington. There are 10 arc reactors in the bag, enough for Su Mu to use temporarily. When the energy of these arc reactors is exhausted, he must have obtained the Infinity Stones. With level 4 energy absorption, Su Mu's speed has exceeded Mach 10. It only takes more than 10 minutes to fly from Black Coast, San Diego, California to Washington. And his destination is the White House, the political center of the United States. In order to thank the military for the gift, he returned the gift. But when he approached the White House, he found that the White House had already fallen into chaos. Please read and collect it. Chapter 46 The Lingering Blood. In the square in front of the White House, 2 groups of people were confronting each other. They were holding banners to convey their ideas. Some of them shouted, "Incompetent officials, you are wasting taxpayers' money. The plan to kill the White Devil must be re-implemented. The White Devil is the greatest threat to mankind. Against the Mutant Liberation Treaty." Contrary to this group of people, another group of people retorted, "Free the mutants. Mutants are no different from humans, they are also part of the human race. No need to make boring sacrifices, we can't be the opponent of the White Devil. The White Devil is now able to withstand nuclear bombs and will be even stronger in the future. He is an angel who has descended to Earth and a living god. If we continue to target the White Devil, it will be the real path to destruction." To Su Mu's surprise, most of the people who supported the Treaty for the Liberation of Mutants had white hair on their heads and wore the same white coat he was wearing when he was first reported. Several of the people who played him looked exactly like him, with almost identical hairstyles, heights and body shapes, and even the pupils wore bright blue contact lenses. If Six Eyes hadn't been able to detect the slight difference, Su Mu would have thought that an unknown force had created a copy of him. Moreover, through the perception of the Six Eyes, many mutants who supported the Treaty for the Liberation of Mutants were mixed in. According to the energy vision, Su Mu even found Mystique among several people who looked like him, and other people in the periphery. Member of the X-Men. What's going on? Isn't Mystique a member of the Brotherhood of Mutants? Why did you join the X-Men again at this time? Could it be that she was tricked by Professor X again? The more Su Mu thought about it, the more likely it seemed that Mystique did not hate humans like Magneto. She was just disappointed in humans and believed that humans' promises were not trustworthy, so she joined the Brotherhood of Mutants. It seems that at this time, the government was afraid of his revenge and wanted to promulgate a treaty to liberate mutants, so it rejoined the X-Men. But what are these imitators? Su Mu didn't think her image outside was very good, but she had so many supporters at this time. So he directly asked a lady in front who also cosplayed as a White Devil. "Why do you cosplay the White Devil and support the Treaty of the Liberation of Mutants?" The girl turned around and her eyes lit up. The gentleman in front of her was the cosplayer closest to the White Devil she had ever seen. Even his temperament was almost exactly the same. As for the gentleman in front of her being the White Devil, she had never considered this aspect at all. Because of Su Mu's handsome appearance, although his question was a bit strange, the lady still answered. "Of course it's because the White Devil is handsome." The young lady's other companions also noticed what was going on here, their faces lit up when they saw Su Mu, and they immediately surrounded him. They also heard So-mu's question just now, and they answered his question while rubbing their fair skin against his body. The White Devil is handsome, he is very charming. That's right, that's right. So-mu had black lines all over her head, which fit the idea of a nymphomaniac. He calmly used unlimited techniques to push aside the nymphomaniacs around him who wanted to take advantage of him, and continued to ask. Is there no other reason? At this time, a young man with acne was enviously watching So-mu being surrounded by many hot girls. When he heard So-mu's question, he interrupted and analyzed. Of course there are other reasons. Now that the White Devil can survive the explosion of a nuclear bomb, humans have no way to eliminate him. If nothing else happens, the future world will be ruled by white demons. And when the White Devil rules the world, his character will definitely clean up those previous opponents and those who once attacked him. We support the White Devil in advance so that we can survive the liquidation. Hearing the young man's words, So-mu was speechless. Why didn't he know that he wanted to rule the world? He has no such leisure. But he didn't explain, he just nodded and smiled, and walked forward. Ignoring the requests of several girls behind him to add their contact information, he walked straight through the crowd and headed towards the entrance of the White House. As he moved forward, the girls behind him stopped talking for some time, and the noisy arguments around him gradually disappeared. It only took a few seconds for the surroundings to go from noisy to silent. The unlimited technique slowly opened, and the dense crowd around him was pushed away, unable to get close to him. Some of the people who were pushed away wanted to turn around and yell, but before they could start, they were knocked away by the terrifying repulsion and knocked down a group of innocent marchers. More and more people around him noticed this unusual white-haired man. His location immediately changed from a remote corner to the center of the line of sight, attracting countless eyes. The bodies of the girls who communicated with So-mu at the beginning were trembling continuously. Looking at the scene in front of them, they didn't know whether they were excited or scared. Among them, the girl who was questioned by So-mu had a dull look on her face. She could only mutter to herself because she was too excited. He's really the White Devil. He's really the White Devil. At the junction of the two groups, several leaders of the organization saw this scene and immediately stopped communicating. Whether they support the White Devil and want to get a glimmer of hope in the subsequent purge, or oppose the Treaty of Liberation of Mutants and want to kill the demon immediately and eliminate the threat, they dare not speak again. Just like Yegong Hailong, when the White Devil had not appeared in front of them, they communicated freely, whether they supported or opposed, they were fearless. But when the White Devil appeared in front of them, they no longer had any courage, for fear of attracting the White Devil's attention. There was even a dark color under the crotch of the leader of the opponents that continued to expand until an unknown liquid dripped onto the ground. But fortunately, the White Devil did not pay attention to any of them, but walked to the front of the White House, facing the fully armed soldiers who had assembled at an unknown time, and dozens of sentinel robots. He slowly floated up, stood in the void, and laughed sarcastically, looking down at everything in front of him. Looking down at the political center of this country, looking down at the supporters behind him, whether they supported or opposed. He was about to say something, but suddenly nodded his forehead, then smiled apologetically. Sorry, wait a minute, I forgot something. The next moment, he suddenly disappeared and appeared in front of the leader of the opposition. Then, under the gaze of all the other marchers, under the loud stop of the X-Men who kept rushing over, he stretched out his hand in front of the leader of the opposition, in front of the trembling body of the leader of the opposition. So, the terrifying repulsive force burst out with black lightning, destroying everything in front. First, the body of the leader of the opposition was shattered in vain and turned into powder, followed by everything behind him, all the voices of opposition, all the different words, slowly dissipated with the red mist. Just as So-mu said to Professor X at the beginning, the existence of different voices is only because the strength is not strong enough. After solving everything, So-mu used repulsion to splash the blood floating around, dyeing the surrounding large area red, as well as the faces of the supporters and the X-Men who came. Su-mu ignored the screams of fear and the loud questions of the X-Men behind him, and did not care about the lingering blood behind him. Instead, he returned to his original position again, still floating in the air, and grinned towards the front against a background like hell. "Sorry to have kept you waiting, My Excellency the President. P.S. What do you think of using the portal to go to DC? Please read and collect. And what do you think of going to DC? Chapter 47 I Give You Face." Under the terrifying repulsion, not even a piece of flesh and blood was left on the mortal body. A large area of blood lingered in front of the White House like mist, emitting a pungent smell of blood that could not be dissipated for a long time. The original supporters screamed when they saw the scene in front of them, and some even fainted to the ground out of fear. Against this background, the White Devil stood in the air, ignoring the soldiers in front, and declared to the President inside the White House. "The White Devil is here." Many soldiers were waiting in formation, looking seriously at the god-like White Devil standing in the void in front of them. Although they were fully armed, they had no sense of security at all and had never thought of defeating the White Devil. Whether it was the terrifying repulsion that wiped out everything with just one casual blow, or any of the previous glorious achievements, it showed that the White Devil was not an existence they could fight against. The bodies of some soldiers also trembled slightly. Even though they had been on the battlefield and had seen hell on earth, they had never seen the scene in front of them. The white demon in the vast blood mist stood in the air. The breeze mixed with the thick smell of blood swept towards them with the purest malice, trying to drown them all. If it continues, I believe that these well-trained soldiers will most likely escape. They are also human beings and are also afraid of death, especially when facing the invincible enemy in front of them and the next battle that is impossible to win. The President in the White House also noticed the arrival of the White Devil, and he immediately realized something. The White Devil is coming. He is definitely seeking revenge for the military's attack on him some time ago. Damn it, what should I do? The President did not escape, because according to intelligence, the White Devil has a flying speed of more than Mach 10, extremely long-range attack capabilities, and a wide range of perception capabilities. When the White Devil appeared, it had already locked onto him. As long as he dared to escape, the only thing that would greet him was death. Suddenly, the President thought of something, and immediately said to the bewildered assistant, "Notify the X-Men and ask them to stop the White Devil. Otherwise, once I am killed by the White Devil, the Treaty of Liberation of Mutants will never be promulgated." Even if they didn't receive a warning from the President, there was absolutely no way the X-Men would let the White Devil do whatever he wanted. But when they wanted to stop it, it was already too late. Black thunder erupted, blood filled the surrounding area, and the surrounding area instantly became a hell on Earth. Professor X looked at the scene in the distance, and his heart immediately sank. This time the White Devil killed hundreds of civilians. Even if it is handled properly afterwards, it may be difficult for the Mutant Liberation Treaty to be promulgated. Looking at the White Devil provoking the White House, the President, the entire US government and officials, Professor. The White Devil must not be allowed to kill the President, otherwise the gap between mutants and humans will never be eliminated, and they will only be in constant confrontation. Hearing Professor X's words, many X-Men rushed towards the White Devil. Among them, Storm flew directly in the air and asked the White Devil, "Why are you doing this? Do you know that this will make the relationship between mutants and humans even more tense?" The White Devil ignored. Then Cyclops arrived, and he also asked the White Demon, "Why, you are also a mutant, but you want to obstruct the promulgation of the treaty to liberate mutants?" The White Devil ignored him. Mystique walked out of the crowd and changed into her original appearance. She shouted hatefully at the White Demon in the sky. "You have ruined our decades of hard work. You have ruined the future of countless mutants. You are unpardonable." But, the White Devil still didn't answer, just looked ahead indifferently, ignoring her anger, not caring about the future of mutants, just standing high in the sky. Cyclops could no longer bear the White Devil's aloof attitude. He took off his glasses, and the hot beams from different latitudes used his eyes as a gateway to vent infinitely outward. At the same time, Storm also activated her ability. Strong winds blew around her, the sky immediately became gloomy, violent thunder fell from the sky, and attacked the White Demon. However, even in the face of these attacks, the White Devil still did not react at all and allowed these attacks to fall on him. Seeing this scene, Cyclops' face showed excitement. Unexpectedly, the White Devil was so confident that he completely ignored their attacks. Now the originally slim chance of winning would be greatly improved. Facing the almost impossible White Devil to defeat, they finally have a good chance of winning. He immediately increased the output of the laser beam, trying to seriously injure the White Demon at once, and Storm did the same. But completely opposite to them, when Professor X in the distance saw this scene, Fifan did not relax, but became more solemn. Because he thought of the White Devil's ability to grow infinitely, and its mutant abilities that were almost exactly the same as the previous terrifying enemy. Could it be? The next moment, the laser beam and the violent lightning hit the White Devil. Then under the shocked eyes of some people, the White Devil who was hit did not suffer any damage. Whether it was a violent thunder or a scorching laser, after approaching the White Demon for a few meters, it dimmed visibly to the naked eye, and finally submerged into the White Demon's body. All this energy was absorbed by the White Devil. Professor X in the distance finally confirmed his guess. The mutant ability absorbed by the energy of the White Demon has also been transformed. At this time, it has evolved to a level comparable to the Black Emperor, or even more powerful than the Black Emperor. Su-Mu ignored the attack behind him. After all, although the energy of the two power banks is small, it cannot be wasted. He took a step forward, and the violent repulsion spread rapidly from his body to the front, first to the lawn, then the fountain, the floor, the soil, and finally to the fully armed soldiers. The next moment, accompanied by a huge roar, the dust and grass fragments intertwined, accompanied by the vast blood color, dissipated in the wind stirred by the terrifying repulsion. No. Seeing this scene, Cyclops was emotional. Because of his out-of-control emotions, his mutant ability was several times stronger, but the laser beam, which was several times thicker, could only replenish the energy of the White Demon, and still could not hurt him at all. The X-Men faced the White Demon, just like ordinary people faced them, weak and powerless. This is the essential difference. At this moment, Su-Mu suddenly felt a strong energy rising from behind him. That energy was both destructive and vital. It was clearly broken, but still majestic. He felt that the power ignored the energy absorption and directly decomposed his body. Although the decomposition speed was too slow and could not pose any threat to him, it still attracted the interest of the devil. He finally turned around slowly and looked at the Phoenix girl in the distance whose eyes were gradually turning red, and smiled brightly. "I give you face. Please read and collect it." Chapter 48, Shinra Heavenly Expedition. Professor X looked at the scene in front of him with a serious face. Even the attacks of Cyclops and Storm had no effect on the White Devil. Instead, they continuously provided him with energy. Now only one of them could stop the White Devil. Entering the consciousness of Phoenix Girl through telepathy, Professor X said to Phoenix Girl, "Jean, release your power, don't be afraid of it, use your power to defeat the White Devil." Phoenix Girl's eyes gradually turned red, and her body slowly floated up. The Phoenix Force from the original universe gradually revived in her body, which could decompose everything. The flame representing life and emotion burned from her body. The surrounding matter was affected by the Phoenix Force and immediately dissipated quickly. The powerful force from the Phoenix Force could decompose any matter. Even the powerful White Devil was no exception, and his body was also decomposing. This time, the White Devil who ignored everything finally couldn't ignore it and looked at Phoenix Girl. Seeing this scene, the X-Men and others gained confidence. Just like Apocalypse in the past, the White Devil would also turn into ashes in front of Jean. Su-mu turned around and saw Jean Grey, whose phoenix power was gradually awakening. It was obvious that the energy absorption of level 4 was not enough to resist the ability of the phoenix power to decompose matter. His body was slowly dissipating, and as time passed, the speed of dissipation was still accelerating. However, Su-mu was not worried. He smiled brightly at Jean Grey, then pointed his index finger at Jean Grey. The terrifying black and red singularity formed in an instant and flew towards Jean Grey in an instant. The black and red singularity tore through everything along the way and rushed towards Jean Grey with an unstoppable momentum. Faced with such a powerful attack, Phoenix Girl could no longer care about Su-mu, but hit all her strength on the black and red singularity in front. The black and red singularity comparable to a small supernova began to dissipate rapidly, and disappeared before it approached her. Seeing this scene, the X-Men and others gained confidence, but the next moment, the smiles on their faces immediately stopped. At the moment when the black and red singularity just disappeared, the white demon disappeared from the spot without knowing when, appeared in front of Jean, and then suddenly punched out. Boom! Black and red lightning exploded between the two, and the telekinesis from the Phoenix Force collided with the black flash, and the ground immediately shattered. The huge aftermath caused the ground to sink rapidly, and finally formed a huge deep pit. Such a terrifying power, even Professor X in the distance was affected, but with a figure passing quickly, everyone was transported to a distance. Quicksilver rushed over with other X-Men, and placed Professor X, Storm, and Cyclops in a safe place. Then he put down his goggles and looked at the two people fighting in the distance and exclaimed, "Holy shit!" Su-mu was not surprised that the Black Flash was stopped once. If he couldn't stop the Black Flash, then it wouldn't be the Phoenix Force. And the reason why he used the Black Flash was just to put himself in the zone state. After entering the zone state, whether it is energy, spell power, or body coordination, it is maximized, reaching the original 120% state. Once again, the Black Flash hit the telekinetic shield of Phoenix Girl. The amplified Black Flash is no longer something that Phoenix Girl, who has not yet fully awakened, can resist. As if the harsh sound of glass breaking suddenly sounded, the telekinetic shield was cracked by the Black Flash, and then Su-mu changed his fist into a palm, and the black singularity was quickly generated in his palm. The black-red singularity comparable to a small supernova instantly shattered the telekinetic shield and rushed towards Phoenix Girl. Facing such a close-range attack from the black-red singularity, Phoenix Girl could not completely decompose the black-red singularity at all, and was about to be hit by the black-red singularity. At this moment, Wolverine used the laser of Cyclops and the storm of Storm Girl as a boost to accelerate himself and quickly block Phoenix Girl. He wanted to help Phoenix Girl resist the damage caused by the black-red singularity. But even with the adamantium alloy, he couldn't resist the black and red singularity that had shrunk by half. He was instantly knocked out and hit Phoenix behind him. Then, with the sound of broken bones, he broke through layers of houses and disappeared into layers of ruins. No! Cyclops roared. Why did he fall into such a state in an instant when he was on the verge of victory just now? Even with Wolverine as a shield, Phoenix, a mortal body, would find it difficult to survive such a terrifying attack. He tried his best to use a huge and thick laser beam that was far more powerful than usual, but it was also useless. After approaching the white demon, the laser beam was completely absorbed by it. Looking at the many X-Men in front of him, Su-mu's face became more and more happy. Then he stretched out his palm and pointed forward, thinking of an anime move that he liked very much in his previous life. Shinra Tensei. The technique was reversed and he was overloaded again. Accompanied by the black and red lightning that was surging everywhere due to instability, the unprecedented terrifying repulsive force spread rapidly from Su-mu to the distance. All matter was annihilated by the terrifying repulsive force. In the blink of an eye, there was only a ruin thousands of meters away. Even Su-mu felt a little pressure from this attack. The energy in his body was consumed by half. 5 arc reactors flew out of his backpack and flew slowly around him. A large amount of energy was absorbed by him, and the energy in his body was quickly restored. Ignoring the X-Men who didn't know whether to live or die in the distance, Su-mu slowly walked towards his goal. He casually dealt with dozens of first-generation Sentinel robots, put his hands in his pockets, and walked towards the interior of the White House without panic. During the process of moving forward, he felt different spying sights more than once, smiled brightly in the familiar spying direction from the surveillance satellite, and then continued to move forward. The White House was damaged by the battle, and even the poor president was crushed by the rocks. Seeing Su-mu coming, the poor president immediately showed a look of horror and begged for mercy. "No, don't kill me, the plan to attack you is not something I can stop." Su-mu did not answer, but came to the president who was crushed by the rocks, looked at him and said, "Tell me the location of other senior military officials." Hearing Su-mu's words, the president immediately knew his purpose and explained immediately. "I don't know, after you walked out of the nuclear bomb explosion, they concealed their whereabouts, even I don't know their location." "Tisk, it's really disappointing." Su-mu continued to ask, "Then you should know their appearance and other information besides their location." I know. The president, who wanted to get a glimmer of hope, immediately told Su-mu the location of all the generals' information, and Su-mu got the information of those generals in a moment. Seeing the smile on the White Devil's face, the president mustered up the courage and said carefully, "Can you let me go?" The White Devil did not reply to him, just gave him a smile, and then stepped out and disappeared in the almost ruined White House. Seeing the White Devil disappear, the president breathed a sigh of relief and said slowly, "Finally I survived." But before he finished speaking, a terrifying purple imaginary sphere fell from the sky with dazzling thunder. In an instant, the White House completely disappeared, leaving only a huge circular pit with no bottom. Please read and collect it. Chapter 49, The plan against the White Devil is restarted, and the Phoenix Girl masters the power of. The falling purple illusion sphere penetrated the space and annihilated the entire White House. The political center of the United States, one of the national symbols, and the iconic building with hundreds of years of history disappeared in an instant, leaving no trace except for the bottomless pit. After the incident just happened, all the senior military officials got the news. They were in a hidden military base, watching the footage taken by the surveillance satellite. From the moment the White Devil appeared, to the terrifying blood color that lingered in the entire White House for a long time, to the fight between the White Devil and the X-Men, the terrifying aftermath of the battle, and the terrifying repulsion that destroyed thousands of meters of area. Until the end, the White Devil raised his middle finger to the sky with a sneer, and casually solved dozens of Sentinel robots, entered the White House, killed the president, and used the terrifying purple illusion sphere to destroy the White House with hundreds of years of history. They are undoubtedly angry, this is a provocation to the entire United States. But they are more afraid. Now the White Devil can survive intact under the nuclear bomb, and they no longer have the means to kill the White Devil. Especially now that the White Devil has launched a revenge and obtained their information from the incompetent president, coupled with the White Devil's extraordinary reconnaissance ability, as long as they are willing to spend time, they will definitely be able to find them one by one and kill them. No, the plan against the White Devil must be started again. We have been fighting him to the death, and he will not let us go. In the internal meeting of these generals again, a general said with fear. Another general looked equally terrified. He recalled the unprecedented tragedy that happened in the White House, and recalled the surveillance satellite standing on the ground looking up at the sky, but it seemed that the White Devil was looking down at them, and even his soul was constantly trembling. We must fully support Colonel Stryker's research. He has a deep research on mutants, especially the Sentinel robots that can have multiple mutant abilities. There is definitely a huge room for development. It is not impossible to compete with the White Devil in the future. But in the previous battle, it has been proved that the Sentinel robots are not the opponents of the White Devil. Another general said with a sad look and no confidence. The general who wanted to support Stryker immediately retorted. No, today's Sentinel robots are only the initial stage, and the final stage of the Sentinel plan is that the Sentinel robots can copy the abilities of mutants, store these abilities and pass them to all other Sentinel robots. And they can use different mutant abilities to target mutants according to their abilities. But other generals are still not optimistic. But the White Devil's strength is no longer something that can be defeated by numbers. His mutant abilities are almost not rigid. Whether it is long-range or close combat, whether it is attacking or saving lives, they have reached the peak of mutants. Even if the Sentinel robots collect all the mutant abilities in the world, even if there are more Sentinel robots, they cannot pose a threat to the White Devil. Threat, just repulsion attack is enough to easily destroy them. No. The general retorted, the Sentinel project has a final idea, that is, the Sentinel robot can increase the upper limit of mutant ability. If we can increase the upper limit of space attack, we can break the unsolvable defense of the White Devil. If we can increase the upper limit of the steel body ability, we will not be afraid of the attack of the White Devil. And we found an extremely special ability person. His mutant ability is to erase all the mutant abilities around him. Even if this ability cannot affect the White Devil now, as long as its limit is increased, it will definitely work on the White Devil. But this is just an idea. It is almost impossible to achieve this level with our technology. Other generals retorted. The general who proposed to support Colonel Stryker smiled mysteriously, then clapped his hands, and two people walked into the meeting room from outside the door. One of the two people was a man with tattoos all over his body, looking like a local hooligan, and the other looked very weird, with a weird green skin and a head several times larger than that of an ordinary person. The first one was familiar to many generals. He was the terrorist who attacked Tony Stark in a car race some time ago. His name seemed to be Ivan Vanko. They didn't know the other one. Seeing the other generals looking at him with questioning eyes, the general who supported Colonel Stryker smiled confidently. Believe me, Dr. Sten and Dr. Vanko will never let you down. Outside the door, Colonel Stryker ordered the Fantasy Master to end his control over the generals. A sinister smile appeared on his face. White Devil, please look forward to it. In the hidden laboratory of Xavier's School for Gifted Youth, Jean Grey was using the initial Phoenix Force to repair Cyclops' body. In the battle with the White Devil, she was easily defeated by the White Devil. After being blown away by the terrifying black and red singularity, she was about to die, but she mastered part of the Phoenix Force at a critical moment and survived. Later, Quicksilver rescued all of them, but even with Quicksilver's speed, he couldn't take them out intact. Except for Wolverine, who has a self-healing factor and an adamantium skeleton and is intact, everyone else was seriously injured to varying degrees. Among them, most of Cyclops' body was destroyed by the terrifying repulsive force. If Jean Grey hadn't used the Phoenix Force to repair his body immediately, Cyclops would have died by now. Others also lost some limbs, but they recovered quickly under the Phoenix Force. Professor X's lower body was restored using the material reorganization ability, and the X-Men and others were all recovered. But even so, they still didn't feel happy. The whole laboratory was filled with a heavy atmosphere. The White Devil was like a gloomy sky, pressing on the X-Men, making them unable to breathe. Cyclops suddenly punched the wall at the side. As he collided with the wall, red blood slowly flowed down the pure white wall. Shockwave is dead, Darwin is dead, and a large number of civilians are dead. The treaty to liberate mutants will never be promulgated. All our previous efforts were in vain. Our dream is like a joke in front of the White Devil. Kill him, we must kill him. This time, even Professor X did not come out to stop them. They were full of hatred for the White Devil at this time. The White Devil was not only their enemy, but also a huge stumbling block for the peaceful coexistence of mutants and humans. But they fell silent immediately. With the power of the White Devil, how could they kill him? Everyone looked at Jean Grey. At this time, She had mastered part of the Phoenix Force, and it was absolutely possible for her to fully master the Phoenix Force in her body, and it was very likely that she would obtain more fragments of the Phoenix Force. This was their only hope. Please read and collect it. Chapter 50 Unlimited Technique Level 4. Tens of thousands of meters in the sky, inside a huge aircraft carrier, Nick Fury looked at the picture sent by the surveillance satellite in front of him, his eyes deep. Coulson was beside him, reporting to Nick Fury about the disappearance of the White House. The white-haired demon first killed hundreds of opponents, then killed dozens of soldiers, and then killed tens of thousands of civilians in the battle with the X-Men, and finally destroyed the White House. The white-haired demon is definitely not suitable to be an Avenger. All previous plans for the white-haired demon have been cancelled. There is no law in his eyes. He does whatever he wants. He is the biggest threat to the Earth now. After listening to Coulson's report, Nick Fury made the following conclusion. Coulson naturally knew this problem, but now S.H.I.E.L.D. has no way to deal with the white-haired demon. Just when Nick Fury wanted to take out the pager he carried with him and call Captain Marvel, he suddenly heard Coulson say, "Aren't there still the legendary Eternals protecting humans on Earth? If it was before, it would be fine, but now the white-haired demon is killing tens of thousands of people at a time. Those Eternals who take it as their mission to protect humans will definitely not sit idly by. We can use them to deal with the white-haired demon. The existence of the Eternals has been recorded in the database of S.H.I.E.L.D. Nick Fury is also afraid of this group of superhumans with extremely strong superpowers. Because he doesn't believe that these Eternals are simply protecting humans, they must have other secrets. However, if the Eternals and the white-haired demon clash, it will undoubtedly be 100 benefits and no harm." So Nick Fury cast an admiring look at Coulson and said to him, "Find a way to tell the Eternals what the white-haired demon did, attract their attention, and lure them to attack the white-haired demon." At the same time, in another office of the space carrier, Alexander Pierce stared at the unscrupulous and powerful demon in his sight, his eyes shining. He thought this was an opportunity. Hydra and the unscrupulous white-haired demon were a perfect match. So he secretly sent a message to try to contact the white-haired demon and win him over. Turning the White House into history and erasing it from the map, Sue-Mu came to live in Tony Stark's luxurious seaside apartment and continued to practice his skills. Now that such a big commotion has been made, it must be that the relationship with S.H.I.E.L.D. has been broken, and it is impossible to know the specific location of the space cube, so that he can't forcibly seize the space cube for the time being. Now he can only wait for Loki to come and deliver the express. At this time, Tony went to study with the Supreme Sorcerer, and he didn't know when he would come back, so the seaside villa was empty and no one lived in it, so he occupied the magpie's nest and lived here. During this time, he had no free time. While constantly absorbing the energy of the arc reactor, he was also practicing the unlimited spell and trying to master the portal. However, his talent in the field of magic was obviously not as good as that of Doctor Strange. Even with the blessing of 6 eyes and energy absorption, he still could not master the portal. However, at this time, he could already draw sparks, and he must be close to fully mastering the portal. As for the unlimited spell, the reason why he focused on practicing this skill was that he found that the advanced unlimited spell could control space and even create a pocket space. Sue-Mu now needs to use a backpack to carry 10 arc reactors, so the pocket space is quite necessary for him. Not only because it would be convenient to have a pocket space, but also because he is too uncool now. As a handsome and elegant white-haired demon, carrying a backpack during battle affects his appearance too much. Not elegant at all. The unlimited technique continued to open, controlling the 5 arc reactors to slowly move around Sue-Mu, and the system kept sending the sound of upgrading. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. Unlimited technique experience +1. Unlimited technique experience +1. Unlimited technique experience +1. Finally, after continuous practice, the system sent a different sound of upgrading. Unlimited Technique Experience +1. Congratulations, your skill Unlimited Technique has been upgraded. Unlimited Technique LV4, 3/5000 Interfere with atomic level matter, dominate space. The closer the object is to the user, the slower it will be, and it will never touch the user, and it has partial control over space. A large amount of memories came from his mind. Under the amplification of the six eyes, Su-mu continued to absorb these memories and completely consumed them. At the same time, he continued to use the reversal technique to repair the brain damaged by excessive brain use. After a moment, Su-mu absorbed all the memories, and he immediately discovered the difference of the unlimited technique. The system's description of the unlimited technique has changed, with an additional explanation of partial control over space. As for the performance of the skill effect, first, the range of the unlimited technique has increased from the original 50 cm to the current distance of about 5 meters, which has expanded tenfold. Then the unlimited technique has a more absolute control over space. Within this 5-meter range, in addition to the original ability, Su-mu can also control space to undergo a variety of changes. These include instant movement, space creation, space slashing, space folding, etc. At this time, his unlimited technique has completely surpassed Gojo Satoru and reached a new realm. After digesting the memory transmitted by the system, Su-mu immediately used the unlimited technique to create a pocket space and put 10 arc reactors into it. Because this empty pocket space was created by him, he can absorb the energy of the arc reactor inside the pocket space. In addition, Su-mu has new gains. Perhaps because of the upgrade of the unlimited technique, his understanding of space has become deeper. The original portal magic that was obscure to him is now extremely clear. He feels that he has mastered the portal at this time. Without hesitation, Su-mu immediately put on the hanging ring and waved his fingers. With the splashing sparks, a stable portal slowly formed in front of him. At the same time, a new skill appeared on the system panel. Portal LV1, 1/100 consume magic power and open a portal to any location you have been to. Magic power can be replaced by energy. After successfully mastering the portal, the system finally included this skill, so that Su-mu can upgrade this skill, thereby continuously increasing the upper limit of the portal. LV1 can go to any place you have been to. LV2 can abandon the hanging ring and open the portal with your own ability without any external objects. LV3 can go to any area of the current dimension/universe. LV4 can go to other dimensions and realize dimensional jump. When the level of the portal reaches LV5, or even higher, it will be possible to teleport the world barrier and go to other worlds sooner or later. Su-mu is looking forward to it. Fight with Superman, fight with Sun Wukong, tell the motherland that you are a hero, and open the unlimited spell in front of Gojo Satoru. Various wonderful worlds are waiting for him. At this moment, the six eyes caught something, and several agents in black clothes rushed to the beach villa. Su-mu showed a more pleasant smile on his face, and there was fun again. Please read and collect. Chapter 51 Obelisk. Several agents quickly approached the beach house. The leader of the agents was quite familiar to Su-mu. He was Crossbones, an elite agent who had appeared several times in the Marvel series of movies. There is no doubt that these agents belong to Hydra, but I don't know why they came to find him this time. Crossbones led several agents toward the beachside villa. The closer he got to the villa, the faster his heart beat. Even his well-trained psychological quality could not suppress this throbbing. After all, the white-haired devil lives in the villa ahead, the man who provoked the world, despised the military, and killed tens of thousands of people but remained intact. His superior once told him that as long as the white-haired demon is willing, he can easily destroy the world. He can also easily rule the world and realize the ideal that Hydra has dreamed of for many years. So although there is a high possibility that this mission will never come back, he must go. If the white-haired demon can be successfully won over, there will no longer be any resistance to Hydra's domination of the world. They were lightly armed and quickly approached the beach villa. Apart from some necessary equipment, they did not even carry firearms, because they knew that these weapons, which were fatal to ordinary people, were nothing more than children's toys to the white-haired demon. The door of the villa was not closed. A group of people walked in and saw the white-haired devil sitting astride a chair, staring at them lazily. P.S. It looks like this, just change it to the image on the cover, compare your heart. Then they saw the white-haired demon yawn lazily, then looked at them with interest, and said lightly. Hydra? Oh no, it's Snake Shield. What do you want from me? Crossbones was shocked when he heard what the white-haired demon said. He didn't expect that the white-haired demon knew his identity and the relationship between Hydra and SHIELD. Obviously Hydra hasn't been exposed yet. The elite agent's strong psychological quality forced him to calm down, and he respectfully said to Su-mu. Your Excellency, the white-haired demon, I am here to invite you to join us on behalf of Hydra. Looking at the many agents in front whose heartbeats were still accelerating even though they tried their best to maintain calm, Su-mu had a smile on his face. I want the space cube and the obelisk, give them to me, and maybe I can join Hydra. Faced with Su-mu's request, Crossbones looked embarrassed. Both of these things exceeded the limit he could decide, so he said to Su-mu. I need to make a request to my superiors. Then, he dialed the communication with Alexander Pierce. Sir, Mr. Su-mu can join us, but he needs a space cube and an obelisk. Space Rubik's Cube and obelisk. Alexander Pierce's face immediately darkened when he heard the request passed by Crossbones. Since the beginning of World War II, the space magic has been used by Hydra, and its endless energy has been used to make powerful energy weapons, which played a great role in World War II. Although the Space Rubik's Cube is now controlled by S.H.I.E.L.D., S.H.I.E.L.D. is Snake Shield, no different from before. It is impossible for Hydra to hand over the Space Rubik's Cube to the white-haired demon, it is the forbidden treasure of Hydra. Just when Alexander Pierce was about to refuse, he suddenly thought of the obelisk. Except for a special group of people, anyone who touches this object will be petrified and die. Because its function is useless, it is far less important to Hydra than the Space Rubik's Cube. In this case, it would be better to give the obelisk to the white-haired devil. If the white-haired demon touches the obelisk and nothing happens, then even if the white-haired demon does not join Hydra, it will give Hydra one more powerful ally. And if the white-haired demon is petrified by touching the obelisk like others, then the world will lose an extremely unstable terrorist, and Hydra will lose a huge resistance to its dominance of the world. So he immediately said to Crossbones. Tell the white-haired devil that we can only give him the obelisk now. The space cube will not be given to him until Hydra rules the world. Having said that, Alexander Pierce had no intention of handing over the Space Rubik's Cube to the white-haired devil. His words were just to delay time. Crossbones conveyed Alexander Pierce's words to Su-mu. After Su-mu heard this, the smile on his face became more kind, and he said to Crossbones. Sure. After all, he had never thought about cooperating with Hydra. Now that he could get the obelisk, a new energy source, it was an unexpected surprise. How could he not agree? As for the Space Rubik's Cube, Loki's express delivery will be arriving soon anyway. Seeing this, Crossbones looked happy. He didn't expect that the plan to win over the white-haired devil would be successful. With the help of the white-haired devil, Hydra would soon rule the world. However, the next moment, the smile on his face immediately froze. Because the white-haired demon in front suddenly disappeared and appeared in front of him, and at the same time he found that his body could not move except for his mouth. He immediately asked. Mr. Su-mu, what do you want to do? We are already allies, aren't we? Facing Crossbones' question, the smile on the white-haired devil's mouth turned ferocious at some point. It's true that we are allies, but allies must also respect each other. You entered my home without my consent before, and you have to pay something. But isn't this Tony Stark speech? Crossbones asked in confusion. What I say is mine, the white-haired devil said calmly without any doubt. Crossbones wanted to retort, but he could no longer speak, because the hands of the white-haired demon in front of him shone with hot light, and a ball the size of a ping-pong ball quickly appeared in his hand, and then slowly floated towards him. Under his fearful eyes, the ball sank into his mouth, and infinite hot energy bloomed in his body, burning his body. Under the influence of the powerful energy in his body, luminous folds began to appear on his body, and then continued to spread throughout his body until it spread all over his body. When the light in the folds reached the limit, his body was reduced to ashes bit by bit. Everything just happened in just a few seconds. The Hydra agents on the side did not know what happened until everything was over. Just when they were about to escape, the endless space slashes centered on Su-mu, and 5 everything within a meter range is covered. The bodies of all the agents were immediately decomposed into blood mist by the endless space slashes, and in the end not even a ball of blood was left. Using gravity to attract the only intact communicator into his hand, Su-mu said to Alexander Pierce. "Sir, remember to send another agent to bring the obelisk over, and remember to be on time. You don't want to see me angry, right?" Alexander Pierce's face was extremely ugly, his fingers tightly clenched the communicator in his hand, and he was extremely angry at what the white-haired devil had done, but he did not dare to explode at all. At this moment, the white-haired devil's weak and lazy voice came from the communicator. "Oh, by the way, Chief Pierce, remember to knock on the door next time." After ending the communication and ignoring Pierce's anger, Su-mu looked outside the villa. Floating in the air, a man wearing a high-tech strange armor was looking down at him, the hot cosmic rays in his eyes were ready to strike. The smile on Su-mu's face became brighter and brighter, and things became more and more interesting. Please read and collect. Chapter 52 Space Disruption Device. New York Times Square, one of the most prosperous streets in the world. The big screens on both sides of Times Square should have been advertising various fashion products, leading the world's fashion trends, but now most of the screens have been replaced by a piece of news that has nothing to do with fashion. Eddie Brock, a rising star in the news industry recently, stood in front of the camera and said seriously, "Now the white-haired demon has grown to the point where he can resist nuclear bombs, and human technology can no longer affect him. What's worse is that the white-haired demon does whatever he wants and is not restricted by secular rules at all. Just a few days ago, he used a terrifying purple sphere to destroy the White House, and in the subsequent battle with the X-Men, he released a powerful mutant ability that was almost comparable to a nuclear bomb in the central area of Washington. The terrifying repulsion destroyed an area of several kilometers, causing tens of thousands of casualties. This is the most horrific terrorist attack since 9/11, and this attack is hundreds and thousands of times worse than 9/11. However, what is shocking is that with the unscrupulous character of the white-haired demon, he did not kill the marchers who supported him. Because of this incident, many supporters of the white-haired demon appeared in turn all over the world, and even some leaders formed organizations that believed in the white-haired demon. This can't help but make me afraid. Is it really the mood to hand over the future of mankind to the white-haired demon? Is it true that humans are going to become slaves of mutants? Where is the future of mankind? In Times Square, a handsome man stood in place, staring motionlessly at the screen that kept broadcasting news about the white-haired demon. In just a moment, he knew all the information about the white-haired demon, the most powerful mutant in the world today, the unscrupulous slaughterer, the destroyer of the White House, the mutant that the military fears, the person who changed the world pattern, and the title that is very likely to be obtained in the future, the person who exterminates mankind. Massacre of humans is unbearable for the Eternals, who are committed to protecting humans. Even though the white-haired demon is not a mutant, he is still included in the list of enemies of the Eternals. As the most powerful warrior of the Eternals, Icarus finally looked at the big screen in front of him. The white-haired demon stood in the void above the pit left by the nuclear bomb explosion, laughing wantonly, and raised his middle finger to the sky. "This mutant must not be left, otherwise a large number of humans will die because of him. Moreover, mutants seem to be the descendants of mutants, right? That's even more damnable. Holding a strange device given to him by a shield agent, recalling the location of the white-haired demon that the shield agent told him, Icarus soared into the sky and flew towards the black coast of San Diego, California at a high speed. Icarus's speed was extremely fast. Soon he reached Tony Stark's beach villa. When he just arrived, he saw the scene of the white-haired demon killing several humans. The white-haired demon seemed to have discovered him at this time, looking at him, with a cruel and happy smile on his face. Sure enough, the white-haired demon must be killed, otherwise the duty of the Eternals will never be completed. He looked down at the white-haired demon from a high position and arrogantly issued a judgment. Mutant, you deserve to die. Although humans are reporting the horror of the white-haired demon, he still doesn't think that the white-haired demon is stronger than himself. He is the most powerful warrior of the Eternals and is not afraid of any challenge, let alone the descendants of the mutant race, mutants. At the same time, on the space carrier, Nick Fury and Coulson carefully watched the pictures taken by the surveillance satellite in front of them. At this time, Icarus and the white-haired demon have come into contact. If it goes as expected, the two will definitely clash. Nick Fury suddenly asked Coulson. Coulson, do you think Icarus can defeat the white-haired demon? Coulson replied. If he relies on himself alone, he can't break the white-haired demon's space defense and it is almost impossible for him to win, but with the space disruption device made by Dr. Reed Richards, he should be able to hurt the white-haired demon and have a good chance of winning. Hearing Coulson's answer, Nick Fury did not agree. Although the space disruption device made by Dr. Reed Richards should work, he did not think that the white-haired demon would fail. Who knows what kind of abilities the white-haired demon has hidden, and what abilities have undergone transformation during this period. When Icarus just appeared, Su-Mu recognized his identity, the Marvel version of Superman. This Eternal named Icarus has most of Superman's abilities. Cosmic rays similar to heat vision are emitted from his eyes, super strength, super speed, super defense, flying in mid-air, etc. However, these abilities are weaker than Superman, and he does not have a life force field and the ability to shine the yellow sun to become stronger. But even so, he is still strong, the most powerful warrior among the Eternals on Earth. When Su-Mu first met Icarus, he was still very happy. After all, the newly upgraded Unlimited technique had a new target to test its strength. Just now, those ordinary agents could not exert the full power of the LV4 Unlimited technique. But after hearing Icarus's arrogant words, Su-Mu was unhappy. No, little brother, what kind of person are you, dare to talk to me like this? Without hesitation, Su-Mu disappeared from the spot in an instant and came to Icarus. Icarus obviously didn't expect Su-Mu's speed to be so fast. He was punched in the face in an instant. With the roar of black and red lightning, his handsome face was instantly deformed, and a blood flower bloomed on his face. He was instantly knocked out, breaking the sound barrier with great force, crashing into the ocean, splashing huge waves tens of meters high. Icarus continued to sink in the sea water, and his previous arrogance and contempt completely disappeared. At this time, there was only one thought in his mind. Who am I, where am I, and what just happened? With the strong physique of the Eternals, even if he resisted Su-Mu's black flash head-on, he would not lose the power to resist. He immediately rushed out of the sea, floated on the ground, and looked at the white-haired demon in front of him with a serious expression. The white-haired demon was more powerful than he thought. However, Icarus activated the space disruption device, and at the same time, his eyes shot out cosmic rays, and suddenly attacked the white-haired demon. The white-haired demon must not have thought that his space defense ability would fail. The white-haired demon would definitely be severely injured under his cosmic rays. The space interference device disturbed the surrounding space, and the cosmic rays were indeed not blocked, and shot straight towards the white-haired demon. When the white-haired demon was about to be pierced by the cosmic rays, Icarus was about to show a triumphant smile on his face, but suddenly he found that the white-haired demon was looking at him sarcastically, and the cosmic rays flying towards him could not hurt him at all, but were absorbed by him. Please read, collect, and vote for the monthly ticket. Chapter 53. You are weak, but you will still die. Icarus didn't know that the white-haired demon actually had the ability to absorb energy. Seeing that the attack he had high hopes for was not only ineffective against the white-haired demon, but also enhanced the white-haired demon's energy, he immediately realized that things were not as simple as he thought. The previous frivolity and arrogance completely dissipated. Icarus fully exerted the talents of the Eternals, constantly interacting with the surrounding cosmic energy to enhance his physical fitness. He was no longer arrogant, but still didn't think he would lose, so he said to the white-haired demon with a serious face. You are strong, but you still have to die. Su-mu looked at the Marvel version of Superman in front of him. Through the energy vision of the six eyes, he could see the golden energy core in his body. The Eternals were implanted with an energy core with almost infinite energy as a life energy source. Even if it was not the real infinite energy of the Infinity Gems, it should not be underestimated. In particular, these energy cores have an advantage that the Infinity Gems do not have, that is, the energy is stable and easy to absorb. Even if Su-mu has level 4 energy absorption at this time, he is not sure that he can easily absorb energy from the Infinity Gems. If it is the energy core of the Eternals, then it will be simple. If Su-mu obtains the energy core in Icarus' body, it will be enough for him to use for a long time. He will no longer need to use the arc reactor. Just absorbing the energy core will be enough to support him until he can easily absorb the energy of the Infinity Stones. However, it is not easy to kill Icarus. The Eternals were created by the leader of the Celestials, the Judge Alyssum. Their bones and muscles are made of extremely special materials, which also creates their terrifying strength and defense. And as the best among the Eternals, Icarus has stronger strength and defense. Most importantly, Su-mu knows that Icarus has an extremely amazing flying speed, far exceeding the limit of his current flying speed. As long as Icarus wants to escape, he can't catch up at all. In addition, the armor on his body was also created by the Celestials and has extremely high defense capabilities. With the physical defense of the Eternals themselves, even the Hulk's defense capabilities are far inferior. So it is difficult to kill Icarus. However, the unlimited technique has just been upgraded and transformed. Su-mu is confident to try it. After using Black Flash, Su-mu entered the zone state and became more proficient in controlling his abilities. With the LV3 6 Eyes and LV4 energy absorption, he can use Black Flash 100%. Without paying attention to Icarus' words, Su-mu disappeared from the spot again and appeared in front of Icarus. However, Icarus was not careless at this time and reacted immediately. However, the arrogant Icarus did not dodge even though he knew that Su-mu had the ability to absorb energy, but he confronted Su-mu head-on. The fists of the two immediately collided, accompanied by terrifying black and red lightning, and the terrifying impact aftermath continued to spread around with the two as the center. Tony's villa could not hold on under the terrifying impact and immediately turned into ruins, and even the underground laboratory was not spared. Under the impact of the aftermath, the sea water below the two suddenly sank, forming a circular hole, and a large amount of sea water rushed to the distance, forming a wave of tens of meters. Su-mu and Icarus fought together, constantly destroying the surrounding terrain. Icarus was more and more surprised as he fought more and more. Su-mu's energy absorption seemed to have no limit. He kept absorbing the kinetic energy of his attack and constantly strengthened his body, like a black hole, swallowing him completely. As the battle continued, Icarus' confidence was gradually wiped out. He no longer had the initial arrogance and looked at the white-haired demon in front of him with a serious face. He could not cause any harm to the white-haired demon at all. Any energy would be absorbed and turned into the white-haired demon's nutrients. However, the attack of the white-haired demon could not cause any harm to him. Even though the speed of the white-haired demon was very fast compared to ordinary people, it was still too slow compared to him. He could easily dodge it. And even if he was hit head-on by the powerful black-red singularity, as long as he was not hit in the head, he would not be seriously injured, and the injury would recover quickly because of the strong physique of the Eternals. This also made Icarus feel relieved. The white-haired demon was just very difficult to absorb energy. As long as he cooperated with his companion's abilities, he could easily kill the white-haired demon. He did not think that the white-haired demon could resist Circe's material conversion. This is not an ordinary energy attack, but a reshaping of molecules. Thinking of this, Icarus wanted to leave and look for reinforcements. He was just arrogant, but not stupid. After colliding with the white-haired demon again, he turned around and wanted to leave. Just at this moment, when his mind was relaxed, he suddenly found that the white-haired demon in the distance disappeared from the original place just as the two had just met, and appeared in front of him in the blink of an eye. The exquisite azure eyes were looking at him greedily, just like a predator hunting dying prey. After fighting with Icarus so far, Su-mu finally found a flaw. The farther away from Icarus, the less effective the space interference device is. With the continuous adaptation of the six eyes and the weakening of space interference, he can finally use the unlimited technique at this time. The azure black hole and the black and red singularity formed in his palm, and finally merged into a purple imaginary mass the size of a basketball. The unlimited technique was fully operational. Su-mu abandoned the original technique of Cang teleportation and changed to continuous use of space movement to move. Although continuous space jumps in a short period of time will cause a great burden on the body, it also brings unprecedented extreme speed. Su-mu came to Icarus in an instant, and the terrifying imaginary mass penetrated the space, penetrated the chaotic space turbulence caused by the space disturbance device, and suddenly hit Icarus' body. The special body structure carefully developed by the God group is like paper in front of the purple imaginary sphere, there is no difference. First of all, the indestructible eternal armor, followed by the skin that can withstand nuclear bomb explosions without injury, and then the muscles that give the Eternals powerful strength, and finally the strongest bones. The body that Icarus was proud of was immediately pierced, and the sea water behind him turned into nothingness. When Icarus tried his best to avoid fatal injuries and only let the purple imaginary sphere penetrate his abdomen, he suddenly found a figure beside him. It was the white-haired devil. At the same time, the devil's whisper rang in his ears, just as he had just said, but with a slight change. "You are weak, but you are still going to die." Because the space disruption device of the previous attack was also destroyed, Su-mu could use space movement next to Icarus. The speed of short-distance space movement is faster than that of Icarus. While Icarus was distracted by the severe pain, Su-mu used spell power manipulation and energy absorption to strengthen himself at the same time, and his palm with distinct bones suddenly pressed on Icarus' face. Accompanied by the explosion of black and red lightning, and countless fatal space slashes, mixed with the blood of the Eternals who were regarded as gods by the ancients, the two fell into the sea like meteorites. The vacuum of the sea water destroyed by the imaginary sphere has not yet been fully restored, and the violent collision aftermath has once again pushed the sea water away, splashing a huge wave hundreds of meters high. Please read and collect. Chapter 54 Kill Icarus and obtain the energy core. Boom! The vibration spread outward along the landing point of the two people, vibrating the rock plates under the sea, and approaching to vibrate a large area of sea water. The huge waves caused by the violent vibration flooded the coastal area and caused an artificial tsunami. In the rocks under the sea, a huge pit was created because of the fall of the two people, and now the sea water is backflowing and flooding the entire pit. However, in the center of the pit, there is a spherical area with a diameter of 10 meters that cannot be flooded by the sea water, as if there is an invisible barrier separating the sea water and making them unable to approach. In the area with a diameter of 10 meters, Su-mu pressed Icarus's head and pressed him into the rock. The repulsive force of the unlimited technique and the technique reversal he, as well as the energy absorption and the body strengthened by the manipulation of the curse force, worked together. Even if Icarus's physique was stronger than the normal Hulk, he could not break free. A large number of space slashes worked together, gradually tearing apart the eternal armor, tearing apart Icarus's Superman body, and tearing apart all his pride. Because of the severe pain, he wailed angrily, but the most powerful warrior of the Eternals on Earth was like a stink bug, pressed to the ground and unable to move. Su-mu looked at Icarus, whose body was constantly breaking and regenerating, and thought silently. Now that he had just obtained the level 4 unlimited technique, the power of the space slash was still too weak to be condensed. It was okay to deal with mortal bodies, but if it was against non-human bodies like the Eternals, although it could still break the defense, the power would still be greatly reduced. It would take a long time to completely kill Icarus with the space slash. Seeing that Icarus under him still did not give up struggling, Su-mu smiled brightly at him, and in Icarus's uneasy eyes, he changed his posture, stepped hard on Icarus's head with his feet, and then made a gesture of holding his hands in the air. The palm of his left hand opened naturally, and the palm of his right hand crossed with his left hand and held it in a virtual grip. In the spherical space with a diameter of 10 meters under the sea, the azure black hole and the terrifying black and red singularity formed each other and then collided. Accompanied by purple lightning-like energy, the virtual sphere slowly formed in front of Su-mu. Virtual style. Seeing this purple sphere that could easily penetrate his defense again, Icarus' fear of death reached its limit. He struggled hard, and golden cosmic rays shot out from his pupils, trying to fight back, but all these cosmic energies were absorbed by Su-mu and turned into his energy. After struggling in vain, Icarus immediately threatened Su-mu. "Human, let me go. I am carrying out the great mission issued by the leader of the celestial gods, Judge Alyssum. If you kill me, you will definitely be killed by the great celestial god." While controlling the formation of the virtual Zi, Su-mu mocked. "Is it to maintain the growth of the human population, provide nutrients for the geocentric god, and then destroy the entire earth?" Icarus was shocked when Su-mu revealed it. "Why do you know this?" Seeing that Su-mu did not answer, the purple horror sphere was about to form, and the fear in Icarus' heart rose again, and the image of another eternal woman appeared in his mind. Circe. No, he wants to go back, and he still wants to keep the memories between him and Circe. He struggled with all his strength again. But the purple illusion sphere has been completed, and with Su-mu's finger-snapping gesture, the terrifying illusion sphere flew towards Icarus's head. Then, in Icarus's horrified look, he completely annihilated his head, and then continued to fly downwards, annihilating everything along the way, forming a huge deep pit with a diameter of tens of meters on the seabed. Icarus' head was completely annihilated by the virtual. Even the Eternals could not recover from this injury, and his life was completely gone. The most powerful Eternal warrior on Earth was killed by the white-haired demon under the deep sea. Using gravity to control Icarus's remains, floating in front of him, a thumb-sized purple illusion sphere formed in front of Su-mu's index finger, and then controlled by it to cut Icarus' body. Slowly, a golden energy core appeared in front of Su-mu. Even after millions of years of use, it still emits huge energy at this time. Su-mu's face showed excitement, and he placed the energy core in the pocket space. He felt the cosmic energy coming from the pocket space and smiled brightly. The express delivery of Loki and Jane Foster has not arrived yet, but Icarus was the first to deliver the express delivery. What a kind person! After throwing Icarus' body into the bottomless circular pit, Su-mu rushed out of the sea and flew away. He remembered that Tony had a Sea View villa nearby. On the space carrier, Nick Fury and Corvin were silent. They had already known what happened from the images transmitted by the surveillance satellite. The white-haired demon flew out of the seabed intact, but there was no trace of Icarus. It is self-evident who will win and who will lose. As the most powerful warrior of the Eternals, a warrior with thousands of years of combat experience from the beginning of the development of human civilization, was killed by the white-haired demon. If this is the case, Nick Fury and the others were shocked, but they would not lose their composure. However, the surveillance satellite clearly transmitted the picture just now. The white-haired demon who rushed out of the sea water was extremely neat except for some water stains on the corner of his clothes, without any injuries. This means that the gap between the white-haired demon and Icarus is too big, even overwhelming. Nick Fury repeatedly watched the battle between the two, and finally stopped. The picture was frozen at the moment when the white-haired demon rushed out of the water. What happened to the white-haired demon? How could he defeat Icarus so overwhelmingly? Nick Fury kept repeating this question in confusion. After a while, Nick Fury recovered from the shock, and the feeling of powerlessness that came over him was unbearable even for him. With their strength, it is extremely difficult to deal with Icarus, let alone the white-haired demon. However, as the world's most elite agent, Nick Fury still adjusted his emotions and said to Coulson, who was also shocked. Inform the Eternals of the news that Icarus was killed by the white-haired demon, and give them the white-haired demon's current detailed information and the video of the battle with Icarus. Although the Eternals' strength has been greatly reduced after losing Icarus, their abilities are unique and may cause some trouble to the white-haired demon, and even kill the white-haired demon with a small probability. In addition, send a message to Dr. Reed Richards, asking him to study a more powerful space interference device and a device for the white-haired demon's energy absorption ability. P.S. Mr. Fantastic Reed Richards. Except for the funds required for the operation of the base, all other funds will be given to Dr. Reed Richards for research. Since the white-haired demon has no weaknesses, then we will create weaknesses for him. Please read and collect. Chapter 55 Portal LV2. In the curator's office of a museum, several Eternals wearing strange armor gathered here. After a long time, they met again, but this reunion was destined to be incomplete, because the strongest warrior among them, Icarus, had died. The atmosphere in the room was particularly heavy, and every Eternal's face revealed a sad expression. Although after a long time, their ideas diverged, and after the death of the mutants, they dispersed and went to live the life they wanted. But despite this, they still valued each other, because they were each other's only companions. At this time, there were no other Eternals on Earth except for a few of them, and every Eternal companion was extremely precious. But at this time, one of them died, and the one who died was the most powerful Icarus, and he died at the hands of the descendants of their enemy, the mutants. This is something they can't stand. Among them, Circe, an eternal woman with the ability to transform matter, was the saddest, because Icarus was her partner who had been with her for thousands of years. At this time, her beloved partner died. Even if her personality was gentle, she fell into endless hatred at this time. Icarus is dead, killed by the level 5 mutant white-haired demon. We must avenge him. Circe said angrily to the other Eternals. She wanted to kill the white-haired demon immediately to avenge Icarus. But the remaining reason told her that she couldn't rashly go for revenge. Even Icarus was killed by the white-haired demon, so she was definitely not an opponent. Another Eternal Water Elf, who was short and looked like a little girl in her early teens and had a strong illusion-making ability, said excitedly. What are we waiting for? Let's go and kill the white-haired demon immediately. In the past thousands of years, the water elf had always had a crush on Icarus. When she heard that Icarus was dead, her anger was no less than that of Circe. But it was obvious that she was not as wise as Circe and could not judge the difference in strength between her and the white-haired demon. Another member, Gilgamesh, who had the hottest temper, clenched his fists. His ability was to control the energy of the universe to wrap around his hands and enhance the power of his punches. In a head-on battle, his strength was even stronger than that of Icarus. He nodded in support of the water elf's words, "Let's attack together. No matter how powerful the white-haired demon is, we will definitely kill him." At this moment, Ajak, the leader of the Eternals, stopped them. As the leader of all the Eternals on Earth, she naturally has wisdom that is not inferior to Circe. When she received the news that Icarus was killed by the white-haired demon, she was sad, but she also learned about the strength of the white-haired demon. Although she is the leader, Icarus is the strongest eternal warrior on earth. Even if they attack together, they may only be able to tie with Icarus. But at this time, Icarus was killed by the white-haired demon, which means that the white-haired demon has the ability to kill all of them. This is too incredible. Even the mutants were slaughtered by them, but there are such powerful beings among the mutants who are the descendants of the mutants. But no matter how incredible it is, they have to believe it when the facts are in front of them. We need to think long and hard about killing the white-haired demon. Before the other Eternals were puzzled and wanted to ask, she pointed to the big screen beside her, on which the white-haired demon and Icarus were fighting. You have also seen that the white-haired demon is strong enough to confront Icarus head-on and not lose at all. None of us can do this. If we want to kill him, there is only one way, which is to let Circe have zero-distance contact with the white-haired demon and use the ability of material transformation to ignore his energy absorption and mutation ability to kill him. But according to the information provided by SHIELD, the white-haired demon seems to have some kind of precognitive ability, and it is very likely that he knows all our information, including our abilities and weaknesses, so he will definitely avoid direct contact with Circe. Therefore, it is almost impossible to control the white-haired demon with our current strength alone. So we need to wait, need to plan, need to rely on other forces, so as to exceed the expectations of the white-haired demon and kill him. All this information was given to us by S.H.I.E.L.D., they want to profit from our fight with the white-haired demon. Including the reason why Icarus went to find the white-haired demon was also deliberately guided by S.H.I.E.L.D., so they must pay a certain price and cannot stay out of it. We will plan with S.H.I.E.L.D. on how to kill the white-haired demon. As for what S.H.I.E.L.D. did, we will settle accounts after killing the white-haired demon. As the leader of the Eternals, Ajax's words still have full weight, and her analysis is very accurate, and immediately got the consent of all the Eternals. They will cooperate with S.H.I.E.L.D. temporarily until the white-haired demon is killed. After killing Icarus, he obtained the energy core, and Suumu's speed of increasing energy points became faster, and the template fusion degree was also increasing in an orderly manner. And he is still constantly practicing several skills he has, especially the portal that he has high hopes for. The portal was originally a magic cube that required borrowing magic power from the Latitude Demon God to use, but Suumu himself possessed the energy, so he could release the portal by himself without borrowing from the Latitude Demon God. So after finding Tony's other Sea View Villa, he continued to release portals inside the villa to increase the portal experience value. The system prompts kept ringing in his ears. Energy point +1. 6 eyes experience +1. Energy absorption experience +1. Portal experience +1. Portal experience +1. Portal experience +1. Compared to other skills that have reached at least LV3, it is easier to gain experience with portals at LV1. It didn't take long for the portal experience value to reach the limit of LV1. Then, with the system prompt sounding again, the portal was finally upgraded. Portal experience +1. Congratulations, your skill portal has been upgraded. Portal LV2. 1/300 consume magic power to open a portal to any location you have been to. Magic power can be replaced by energy. A large amount of experience was transmitted to Suumu's mind. His proficiency in portals continued to improve. In just a short moment, he reached the point where he could use portals without a hanging ring. Suumu took the ring off his finger and put it in his pocket, feeling very comfortable. After all, carrying a heavy and hard ring on your finger is not a pleasant experience. Just use your finger to slide slightly in the void, and a portal will appear in front of Suumu. Not only does it not require the use of the ring, but the speed is also much faster than when it was level 1. This made Suumu quite happy. The reason why he could reach this point in a short time was all due to his unparalleled talent and hard work. Opening the system panel, Suumu observed the information on it. In addition to the portal upgraded to level 2, there is another skill that is about to be upgraded. Chapter 56 Six Eyes Level 4 and the upcoming express delivery. While absorbing energy, Su-mu needs to use the six eyes to finally control the energy, so the experience value of the six eyes is also increasing. Even if the increase rate is not as fast as energy absorption, it has reached the limit of level 3 at this time. Six Eyes LV3, 903/1000. It has a 360-degree long-distance viewing angle, can see the flow of energy, and has amazing dynamic vision, allowing the holder to perform fine energy operations. Judging according to the rules of upgrading, as the skills are upgraded, the skill effects will also be improved in technical form. When the skills are upgraded from LV3 to LV4, a huge transformation will occur. I don't know what the specific effects of LV4's six eyes are. Activate the six eyes with all your strength, carefully observe the surrounding situation, and continuously manipulate the energy to the limit to continuously increase the experience value of the six eyes. Six Eyes Experience +1. Six Eyes Experience +1. Six Eyes Experience +1. Finally, after several hours, different system prompts came from the system. Six Eyes Experience +1. Congratulations, your skill Six Eyes has been upgraded. Six Eyes LV4, 1/5000. It has a 360-degree long-distance viewing angle, can see the flow of energy, amazing dynamic vision, and perspective ability, allowing the holder to perform extremely fine energy operations. The original absolute visual range of 2000 meters expanded rapidly, doubling, tripling, it didn't stop until 5 times. At this time, his vision range expanded to 10 kilometers. In addition to the expansion of his vision range, his clairvoyance ability has also been greatly enhanced. He can observe everything within 10 kilometers, and nothing can resist his clairvoyance. Of course, this may be because he didn't discover it. Maybe there were some metals with strange properties, or it was Kamitage's magic circle, which he might not be able to see through. In addition, the most important thing is that the upgrade of Liuyan greatly improves his energy control ability, so that he will not waste any energy when releasing his skills. Moreover, the energy side of the six eyes has also been improved, and more obscure energy flows can be observed, such as human heat, the flow of wind energy, solar energy, and even the coverings cast with Kamitage, New York Sanctuary, and London Sanctuary as the core. The protective circle of the entire Earth. Looking at the magic circle that covers the entire sky and has no boundaries, it is this magic circle that blocks the prying eyes of the latitude demon god and protects the Earth from outside interference. Withdrawing his gaze, Su-mu focused on the system panel again. After continuously absorbing energy during this period, the template fusion degree has been greatly improved. At this time, it is Template Fusion Degree 78%. 2 more percentage points will reach 80%, and new skills should be unlocked. Now that almost all of Gojo Satoru's skills have been unlocked, when the Template Fusion reaches 80%, the field should be unlocked, Infinite Space. Field expansion is the most profound technique in the world of spell return. All abilities in the field will have a certain effect, and Gojo Satoru's field expansion, Infinite Space also has its own abilities. That is to pull the opponent into the infinite inside, forcing the opponent's brain to perform countless repeated perceptions and conductions in order to live, generating a large amount of invalid information, causing the brain to lose its function, and can only stand and wait for death. Of course, this is just the infinite space of Gojo Satoru. I wonder what kind of additional abilities the infinite space will show as the level increases? Su-mu was looking forward to this. At this moment, a portal opened next to Su-mu, and a figure walked out of the door. The visitor was none other than Tony, but he was not dressed like a playboy in the past, but in a yellow monk's uniform. Through the observation of six eyes, Su-mu can clearly see the energy flow in Tony's body. During this period of time, he has obviously made great progress in Kamitage. But Tony is still Tony. Even with the guidance of the Supreme Mage, his essence has not changed much. After meeting Su-mu, he complained with an exaggerated expression. "Oh my god, when I arrived at my sea view villa, why could I only see an empty sea, and even the coastline had undergone huge changes? Soo-Mew, can you tell me what happened?" Looking at Tony pouring out his bitterness in front of him, Soo-Mew said very perfunctorily. "Maybe a meteorite fell on your villa." Hearing Soo-Mew's answer, Tony was choked up. Very good, this was in line with Soo-Mew's past style. It was just a sea view villa worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and Tony didn't really care. He walked towards the underground laboratory and said to Soo-Mew. "Soo-Mew, please don't disturb me recently, I have something very important to do." Oh my god, the interaction between magic and technology is amazing. Seeing Tony, who couldn't wait to go to the basement to make a brand new magic armor, Soo-Mew used gravity to attract him, and then slowly said under Tony's puzzled gaze. "Have you forgotten that I still have some important news that I haven't told you? Don't you want to know the truth about your parents' death?" After telling Tony that his parents did not die in a car accident, but were killed by the Winter Soldier, Soo-Mew left the Seaview Villa. He had no intention of living with another man. Because of informing Tony of this news, and adding the agency fee for introducing the Supreme Sorcerer, Soo-Mew asked Tony for the shares that originally belonged to Obadiah. At this time, he was the second largest shareholder of Stark Industries after Tony, and also a newly rich man. Coming to another villa that he had bought before, after playing with several Hollywood actresses, Soo-Mew entered the supreme state of no desire and no desire. He lay in the living room and enjoyed the massage service of several actresses. He turned on the huge TV hanging in the living room and wanted to watch the entertainment programs of the Marvel world. Suddenly, a piece of news attracted his attention. A familiar figure appeared on the screen, and it was the rising star of the news industry, reporter Eddie Brock. He was at a banquet at this time. The surrounding environment was in chaos. The shrill screams and chaotic crowds filled the luxurious banquet hall, and he was constantly talking to the camera. It can be clearly seen that this live broadcast was impromptu, without any preparation, and even Eddie Brock's clothes were stained. P.S. Venom, Eddie Brock. But even at the scene of the terrorist attack, the reporter who was willing to risk his life for the news still showed excellent professionalism. "Hello everyone, I am reporter Eddie Brock, and I am currently at a banquet. Just now, a mysterious man holding a strange scepter attacked the banquet and killed many innocent people." Looking at the familiar banquet scene that had appeared in the movie, and the long-haired man in a suit holding a strange scepter in the distance, Soo-Mew pushed the actress below away, used gravity to attract the clothes scattered on the ground in the distance, and then ignored the complaints of the actress, put on the clothes and walked out the door. The express delivery came, and he had to go and receive it. Just at this moment, several meteors suddenly streaked across the sky, leaving beautiful tracks and falling in an unknown corner in the distance. Some unknown alien creatures also want to join the exciting drama that is about to happen. Please read and collect. Chapter 57, The Invading Symbiote. Eddie Brock was originally a reporter who was about to be fired, but when he accidentally photographed the white-haired devil, his fate changed. From the initial mutant battle in the streets, to killing Iron Overlord, ravaging Abomination and Hulk, confronting the X-Men on the streets, surviving a nuclear bomb intact, and finally destroying the White House. He photographed all these news stories either by coincidence or intentionally, and his reputation continued to increase with each report, as the white-haired devil's popularity increased. Now he is already a popular figure in Global Daily and a rising star in the journalism world. And when he was invited to a banquet today and found that a strangely dressed figure had killed several people, he immediately realized that this was another hot news. So he immediately ordered his subordinates to turn on the cameras and sent a live broadcast request to Global Daily, and then hurriedly started live broadcasting at the crime scene. At this time, the live broadcast effect was just as he imagined, and the number of people watching was constantly rising. While he was extremely excited as he watched the number of live broadcasts continue to rise, he suddenly noticed that the photographer in front looked behind him with a look of fear. Eddie Brock immediately realized something, and he immediately turned around, but when he just saw the man behind him holding a strange scepter, he felt severe pain in his chest. He looked down tremblingly and saw that strange scepter penetrated his chest, and a large amount of blood flowed out of his chest. With severe pain in the chest again, and blood splattering everywhere, the strange scepter was pulled out by the man in a suit in front of him. As the blood continued to flow and his lungs were damaged, Eddie Brock felt dizzy and his consciousness gradually blurred. In the corner of his eye, the mysterious man used a laser to kill the photographer, and then the clothes on his body gradually changed. He put on a strange-looking armor and walked slowly outside. Just when his consciousness was about to completely disappear, he suddenly found a writhing black unknown substance beside him, which quickly integrated into his body. After killing several tiny humans, Loki calmly walked out the door amid the screams of many bright-looking gentlemen and ladies. The suit disguised by illusion magic gradually transformed into the original armor. Looking at the mortals in Midgard who were running around in panic and looking at him with fear, Loki's joy reached a climax. Yes, this is right, this is what Midgardians should be like. The tail of the scepter collided heavily with the ground, and several illusory shadows surrounded the mortals in the square. Loki slowly stepped forward, looked at the humble mortals in front of him, and shouted loudly. "Kneel down, everyone!" The whole place fell into silence. The previous screams and noises all disappeared under Loki's scolding. Looking at the many frightened mortals in front of him, a trace of impatience flashed in Loki's heart, and he immediately shouted loudly again. "I said, kneel down!" Seeing the many mortals in front of him finally kneeling down, Loki smiled with satisfaction. While walking into the crowd and enjoying the worship of many mortals, he continued. "Isn't this simple? Aren't you born this way? You long to be enslaved, your bones are full of servility, and sooner or later you will succumb to your rulers." Suddenly, an old man with white hair stood up. He looked at Loki without fear, and then said slowly. "But not to someone like you." Loki smiled disdainfully and said, "I am unique." The old man replied, "I have seen too many shameless people like you." Loki was immediately angered by the damn cowardly mortals in front of him. He waved his mind scepter and pointed at the mortals who dared to resist him, and said arrogantly to other mortals. "Look at this old guy, he is your role model." The top of the mind scepter emits a dazzling light, and an energy ray flies towards the old man, about to kill the old man. At this moment, a strong man wearing a pattern of stars and stripes suddenly comes to the old man and raises the five-pointed pendant. "Star Shield, stop in front of the energy ray." P.S. Mind Scepter. The unique material of vibranium reflects the laser, hitting Loki and knocking him down. Captain America said slowly. "I remember that there was once a person who was above 10,000 people, but he was killed." Looking at the man in front of him, Loki, who had a certain understanding of Midgard, immediately recognized the identity of the man in front of him, and then mocked. "An old man who has been eliminated by the times." At this moment, the combat aircraft piloted by Black Widow opened its machine gun and said to Loki. "Loki, put down your weapons and raise your hands to surrender." But what greeted her was an energy ray, and the combat aircraft was almost hit by the energy ray released from the Mind Scepter. Seeing this scene, Captain America immediately attacked Loki, but facing the leader of the Frost Giants, Loki, who has extremely strong physical fitness, Captain America was no match at all. As the shield was knocked away, Captain America was completely at a disadvantage. And because he was humiliated by the white-haired demon before, Loki had no idea of playing with Captain America anymore. After finding a flaw, he immediately used the Mind Scepter to break Captain America's legs, and then stepped on Captain America's chest with his feet, aiming the spiritual scepter at his head. "I said, you have been eliminated by the times." Captain America tried his best to resist, but he still couldn't resist the approach of the Mind Staff. When the top of the mind staff had already scratched his forehead, Captain America suddenly felt an amazing burst of power all over his body. He pushed the mind staff away and kicked Loki out. Then he saw the white viscous liquid completely wrapped around his body, and a huge sense of power continued to come from his body. When the viscous white liquid completely wrapped Captain America, he heard a voice in his mind. "Hello, Steve, my name is Serum." Looking at the white stars and stripes uniform on his body, Captain America wanted to ask immediately, but Serum seemed to understand what he was thinking and immediately said to him. "Steve, I think we should defeat the enemy in front of us and then discuss our affairs, right?" Captain America felt that his current state was just like the transformation of the super soldier Serum decades ago. It was a brand new transformation. The corner of his mouth curved up, and he said to Loki in front of him. "Yes, that's right. I can spend the whole day with you." Loki looked at Captain America wrapped in white viscous liquid. With thousands of years of memory, he immediately recognized what this thing was. "Symbiote, interesting. But do you think you can defeat me like this?" Loki slammed the scepter down, piercing through a dark silver symbiote, and used the mind scepter to control it, erasing its original will. The dark silver symbiote also wrapped Loki, and the body of the frost giant and the symbiote had a more powerful interaction. A sharp dagger formed from his arm. Loki held the mind scepter in one hand, and raised the dagger with the other hand to Captain America. The second round begins. P.S. We are currently in a parallel universe modified by the author, and everything that happens is normal, please don't be surprised. P.S. What do you think of this plot? Several symbiotes find hosts, and then a big fight breaks out. Please read and collect. Chapter 58 Template Fusion Degree, 79. Chapter 58 Template Fusion Degree, 79%. The two struggled together again, but due to the addition of the symbiote, their fighting style changed dramatically. The one that has changed the most is Captain America. Unlike Loki, who originally had extremely strong physical fitness, Captain America's physical fitness is only the limit of a mortal even after being strengthened by super soldier reagents, and he cannot compete with a superhuman like Loki. Human monsters confront each other head-on. At this time, symbiosis with the serum, his physical quality finally transcended the human category. The symbiont on the body surface changes into a rope, pulling the shield on the side over. At the same time, the white mucus spreads towards the shield, causing it to also change to white. Captain America is proficient in almost all fighting skills, and his close combat ability is far better than Loki's. The reason why they were not Loki's opponent in the first place was that, in addition to the interference of illusions, the physical fitness of the two was beyond the point where skills could save them. At this time, strengthened by the symbiote, even if it is still not as good as Loki, it can delay it for a while. But Loki has also been strengthened by the symbiote, and because the symbiote can copy the host's abilities, Loki's riot quickly copies Loki's abilities, greatly enhancing his physical strength and magic. Facing the current Loki, Captain America simply cannot hold on for too long and is about to lose. Boom! The wall in the distance was forcibly knocked open by a black figure, and a figure rushed towards Loki. Unlike Loki and Captain America, who have a host-based symbiosis, this figure is completely dominated by the symbiote, and its whole body is covered in thick symbiote mucus. This method also brings out the full power of the symbiote. This is Eddie Brock, who was shot through the chest by Loki and was about to die. In this parallel universe, he still coexists with Venom. After seeing Loki, who almost killed him before, Eddie Brock roared at Loki. "You bitchy, I want you to die." The three of them fought together, and the symbiosis gave them powerful bodies. The three of them were like three little Hulks, constantly destroying the surroundings. The ground was shattered, and the surrounding buildings were ravaged by the three people as if they were made of paper. As a figure fell from the sky and landed on the ground, the battlefield immediately tilted in the direction of S.H.I.E.L.D. Captain America looked curiously at Black Widow, who was wrapped in a red gold symbiote, how did you become like this? Same as you. Black Widow looked at Loki in front of her, and also rushed forward. Facing the attacks of the three symbiote hosts, Loki gradually became weak and fell into a disadvantage, until finally, he was knocked to the ground, and even the violence on his body was forcibly stripped away. Looking at the three people in front of him, Loki raised his hands and said to them, "Okay, okay, I surrender." Captain America and Black Widow immediately stopped, but Venom wanted to continue attacking, but they were stopped by Captain America. Just when Captain America and Black Widow were trying to tie up Venom and Loki at the same time, the sound of unheard footsteps suddenly sounded behind them. The man with white hair and blue eyes slowly approached, looking at the three people wrapped in the symbiote in front of him. A bright arc appeared at the corner of his mouth. "Four gentlemen, could you give me that scepter?" The lively scene immediately fell silent. Everyone present recognized the identity of the person who came. He was the strongest level 5 mutant today, the white-haired demon. Why is he here? Looking at the white-haired man who arrived, everyone showed solemn expressions. They all understood the terror of the white-haired devil. Even though they were wearing symbiote suits, they still didn't think they could defeat the white-haired demon. Captain America and Black Widow looked solemnly at the white-haired demon in front of them, constantly thinking about solutions to the current predicament in their minds. But then they desperately discovered that under the suppression of absolute strength, they had no way to deal with it. Facing Loki, they could compete head-on and win the battle, but facing the white-haired demon, they had no idea of fighting him. This is not the strength of the same dimension at all. At this moment, Venom suddenly let out a huge roar and rushed towards Su-Mu. "Eddie, this man's brain is so delicious, I want to eat him." Just when Venom rushed towards Su-Mu, Eddie Brock's voice immediately sounded from Venom's body. It was a helpless cry full of despair and fear. "No, no, 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 he is a white-haired devil." However, Venom, who had just coexisted with Eddie Brock, obviously didn't know the white-haired devil, nor did he understand what the name white-haired devil meant on Earth, so he finally bravely rushed over. Seeing the big man rushing towards him at high speed, the smile on Su-Mu's face became even more exciting. He stretched his index finger forward, pointing directly at Venom's body, and a black and red singularity formed quickly on his fingertip. The technique reverses H. When Venom was about to come to Su-Mu, a terrifying black-red singularity suddenly erupted, like a meteor hitting Venom's body. Due to the upgraded 6 eyes, Su-Mu could use the full power of the reversal He technique to hit Venom's body. The terrifying repulsion completely knocked Venom away, and in the process of being knocked away, all his bones, flesh and blood were transformed and crushed. It turned into powder, and finally broke through the walls and disappeared from the end of sight. After casually dealing with the Venom, Su-Mu slowly walked towards the Mind Scepter lying quietly on the ground, and got the first Infinity Stone. Pick up the Mind Scepter, hold the top of the Mind Scepter with your hand, and then exert force suddenly. Tiny black and red lightning appeared in the palm of his hand. Facing the strong repulsive force, the Mind Scepter was not damaged at all. Seeing this, Su-Mu frowned slightly, and then the thumb-sized azure black hole and the black and red singularity collided in the palm of his hand, forming a purple illusion mass. This time, the Mind Scepter could no longer block the attack that was enough to cut off the space, and was annihilated into nothingness, leaving only a yellow bright gem lying in Su-Mu's palm. P.S. Mind Gem. Directly contacting the Mind Gem, a large amount of pure energy poured into Su-Mu's body, and many illusions were also generated. However, when these illusions wanted to affect Su-Mu, they were immediately blocked by the system. Even the cosmic ore could not affect Su-Mu's soul. Su-Mu nodded with satisfaction. It was just as he thought. Even the Mind Gem could not affect his spirit. In this way, the spiritual attribute was useless to him. Only the Mind Gem of pure power was left. Among the 6 infinite gems, it was the easiest for him to absorb. The system prompt sound kept ringing, and the system panel was filled with prompts of increased energy points. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. Energy point +1. In a short moment, Su-mu obtained a large amount of energy points. He invested these points into the template fusion degree, and the template fusion degree increased again. Template fusion degree 79%. P.S. The protagonist's personality is free-spirited. As long as it does not affect him, he will not kill people at will, but as long as it affects him a little bit, he will not be soft-hearted. Of course, the most important thing is to look at the mood. The protagonist is a pure fun person. Also, when facing a more powerful existence than him, the protagonist will still admit defeat. For example, he is no match for the Supreme Sorcerer and Odin now. Please read and collect. Chapter 59, Suidun Bureau. The template fusion degree reached 79%, and it was still short of the last point of fusion degree to reach 80% and unlock new abilities. However, the energy absorption at this time could not absorb the huge energy in the Mind Stone for a long time. In just a moment, Su-mu's body feeling extremely tired. Therefore, Su-mu could only place the Mind Gem in the pocket space and wait for the body to recover before absorbing it. Now that his energy absorption has reached level 4, he is only slightly stronger than the Black King. It is expected that he cannot fully bear the power of the infinite gems. However, after the energy absorption reaches level 5, he will be able to fully bear the energy of the infinite gems, and even can bear several at the same time. The experience of energy absorption at this time is Energy Absorption LV4, 2987/5000. As a skill that needs to be used all the time, the energy upgrade speed is extremely fast, and it will probably reach the level of LV5 soon. By then, the speed of increasing the template fusion will be greatly improved. And judging from the efficiency of continuously absorbing Icarus's energy core at this time, it should be able to reach 1% tomorrow. Putting the Mind Stone back into his pocket, Su-mu looked at Captain America and the others. Thinking of the Mind Stone he had just obtained, he immediately had a new idea. Thor Loki? Hydra Captain America? The Hulk possessed by a symbiote? The God of Thunder who awakens his power in advance? And Black Widow fighting the Hulk? Plus the Sorcerer Supreme Iron Man. Su-mu can't wait to see tomorrow's battle in New York. I wonder what they will think when the Chitauri Legion comes to Earth and sees the enemy in front of them? Just do what they think of. Captain America and the others suddenly had a bad premonition when they looked at the white-haired demon in front of them. However, before they could resist, the power of the Mind Stone acted on them, completely distorting their thoughts. Sir! Everyone, including Loki, bowed to Su-mu and said respectfully. Looking at the people in front of him, a smile gradually appeared on Su-mu's lips, and he said to them. Back to the space carrier, we give Nick Fury a big gift. Yes. Because of Su-mu, the relationship between S.H.I.E.L.D. and Tony Stark was not that close at this time, so Tony Stark did not arrive at this time. Several people left in a plane and headed towards the space carrier. P.S. Space carrier. On the way there, Su-mu studied the symbiotes on several people. At this time, Loki was symbiotic with Riot, Captain America was symbiotic with Serum, and Black Widow was symbiotic with Howl. For some reason, these symbiotes fell from the sky at the same time and landed near the banquet. Su-mu took out parts of these symbiotes, then used the Mind Stone to erase their original will, and mixed them together. Thus, a brand new symbiote was born. However, because it has no independent will, it is more like a piece of equipment than a symbiote, a piece of equipment that can be changed at will. Controlling the symbiote to spread throughout the body, the original clothes were swallowed by the symbiote, and then transformed into brand new clothes. Feeling the slight increase in power in the body, Su-mu smiled slightly, almost nothing. The plane soon arrived on the space carrier. After landing on the space carrier, Captain America opened the door and Nick Fury was already waiting here. Nick Fury smiled at Captain America and said, "Welcome back victorious, my captain. So where is Loki now?" Captain America said to Nick Fury with a serious face. "On the plane, but Nico, I have a gift for you." After hearing Nico's name, Nick Fury's pupils suddenly shrank, because he knew that Captain America would not be able to say such a thing. Then there is only one possibility at this time, and that is that Captain America is controlled like Hawkeye. He immediately pressed the pager he carried with him to call for the arrival of Captain Marvel. At the same time, a white-haired figure walked out of the plane. Soo-Mew looked at Nick Fury, who looked ugly, and glanced at the pager he secretly pressed. He obviously could have stopped him, but he didn't, but the expression on his face was even more joyful. Calling Captain Marvel. Seeing the shocked look in Nick Fury's eyes, Soo-Mew slowly said, "But she can't save you, right, my loyal subordinate, Nico Fury?" Hearing Soo-Mew's words, Nick Fury immediately realized something, and he immediately ordered the surrounding agents, "Shoot and attack the white-haired devil." But the agents around him ignored his orders and pointed their guns at him. Seeing this scene, Nick Fury's heart sank immediately, and then he smiled warmly in front of his eyes. His face was handsome and friendly, and he looked more like a decent Soo-Mew than him. "You controlled them, and you actually have the ability to control your mind. No, you got the psychic scepter and can exert its power better than Loki." As the most elite agent leader, Nick Fury immediately analyzed the current situation. But knowing most things makes him even more desperate. Seeing that Soo-Mew was non-committal, Nick Fury said to him with a gloomy expression, "You thought you won, but now you have offended too many forces. You will definitely die miserably in the near future." Ignoring the loser's mad dog barking, Soo-Mew said to Nick Fury kindly, "Don't worry, my loyal subordinate, those things will not happen, and you will help me, right?" After the words fell, with the flash of yellow spiritual light, under the effect of the Mind Stone, Nick Fury's pupils gradually calmed down. He looked at Soo-Mew as if he was looking at a god, and bowed respectfully. "Yes, sir, I will dedicate all my life and energy to you." After controlling Nick Fury and all the agents around him, Soo-Mew smiled with satisfaction. Since Shield can be Snake Shield, why can't it be Sua Shield? So far, Sua Shield has been established for the most part. Afterwards, under the leadership of Nick Fury, several people continued to move forward into the interior of the space carrier, controlling all the agents they met on the way, and finally came to a laboratory. At this time, there was only one person in the laboratory, and that was the Hulk, also Dr. Banner. P.S. Dr. Banner. He first said to Nick Fury, the first person to enter the laboratory. "Sir, it will take me some time to find the whereabouts of the space cube." But he paused immediately, and he couldn't say the next words anyway, because he saw behind Nick Fury, a white-haired man who could not appear here anyway was smiling at him. Although the smile was gentle and sunny, it made him feel cold all over. He was so impressed by this man that he had been having terrible nightmares about his demons recently. Afterwards, he heard the white-haired demon who followed Director Nick and said to him slowly and friendly, "Dr. Banner, please bear with me. There are a few clothes that need you to process." Several hideous symbiotes immediately appeared on the bodies of Captain America and others, and kept wriggling behind the white-haired demon, exuding tyranny and ominousness. "Dr. Banner, Hulk, come out quickly. Hulk. Shivering. Please read and collect." Chapter 60 The field expands into infinite space. Chapter 60 Domain expansion, infinite void. Use the Mind Stone to control Dr. Banner, change him into the state of Hulk, and then let each symbiote symbiosis with him. Although the symbiote cannot obtain the ability of the Hulk to become stronger with anger, and the short-term symbiosis cannot allow the symbiote to fully obtain the normal power of the Hulk, it is enough to greatly increase the power of the symbiote. In a moment, Soo-Mew controlled all the agents on the entire space carrier, changed their minds, and ordered all agents to recognize him as the master. Whether it is the serpent shield or the only shield, they all became the Sua shield. At this time, Su-mu, who completely controlled Shield and Loki, could completely stop the Chitauri army from attacking the Earth. But he didn't intend to stop it. The Chitauri army was a good target, which could be used to test the effect of the infinite void. Moreover, he also wanted to test the power of many heroes who were now symbiotic with the symbiote. Time passed quickly, and soon the drowsy night dissipated, and the scorching sun enveloped the world again. After the establishment of the Sua Shield Bureau on the space carrier, Su-mu did not stay there, but used the portal to return to his villa. It was not necessary to consider whether to be with a bad guy or a hot actress. In addition to enjoying the services of Agent Hill and many actresses at the beginning, Su-mu put all his energy into absorbing energy and improving the template fusion degree. After a night of hard work, the template fusion degree finally increased again. Energy point +1. Template fusion degree, 80%. You have unlocked a new skill, Infinite Space. Infinite Space LV1, 1/100. Pull the opponent into the inner side of the limitless, forcing the opponent's brain to repeat countless perceptions and conductions in order to stay alive, generating a large amount of invalid information, making the brain lose function, and can only stand and wait to die. Only those who are touched by the host are not affected. A large amount of information is transmitted to the brain. This information is much larger than any previous information, but at this time Su-mu digests this information without any pressure. The 6 eyes of LV4 are enough for him to easily receive this huge amount of information. After the information in the brain is completely consumed, Su-mu can easily perform the domain expansion. And because of the energy absorption, compared to Gojo Satoru, as long as the energy is sufficient, he can repeat the domain expansion all day long, instead of being able to expand several times a day like in the Jujutsu Kaisen world, which has reached the world's peak level. Then Su-mu focused his attention on the system panel again. When the template fusion degree reached 80%, he obtained the infinite space, and the infinite space should be Gojo Satoru's last ability. Then when the template fusion degree reaches 100%, a new character template should be unlocked. I wonder who the new character template will be? Moreover, Su-mu also has a hunch that when the template fusion degree reaches 100%, in addition to obtaining a new character template, he will also have a new huge gain. After closing the system panel and dismissing the hot actress beside him, Su-mu waved his fingers to open the portal and came to the space carrier. Because she controlled Loki, as soon as he came out, Black Widow immediately came up and reported to him. The portal is ready, the spaceship is ready, we can set off to counterattack the Chitauri army at any time. Su-mu nodded with satisfaction, and then came to the command room of the space carrier, where everyone was ready. Looking at several symbiotes, judging their physical strength through the 6 eyes, Su-mu smiled with satisfaction. When the portal opens, you will take the spaceship to enter the mothership of the Chitauri army, and then destroy it at will. Yes, sir. All the symbiotes said to Su-mu at the same time. Su-mu focused his attention on Dr. Banner. The symbiote that was symbiotic with him at this time was Riot, who had parasitized Loki before, and the symbiote even copied the incomplete physique of the Frost Giant. I don't know how the Frost Giant Hulk will perform in the subsequent wars. Before opening the portal, Su-mu called Tony, and then heard the noisy voice over there. He asked curiously. Tony, where are you now? Tony replied. I'm in Camartage. Sorry, the signal in Camartage is a bit bad, I'll change to another place. The sound of sparks splashed, and then Tony's voice became much clearer. I'm discussing my new magic armor with the Supreme Sorcerer. At present, Unit 01 has been successfully produced, and now it's just a matter of experimentation. Hearing Tony's words, Su-mu showed a mysterious smile on his face. There is a good opportunity for experimentation right now. They will attack the Chitauri, one of the cosmic forces. Do you want to join them? Tony, Oh my god! Ignoring Tony's surprise, Su Mu continued. If you want to join, return to your Stark Tower, which will be the first battlefield. Wait, Stark Tower. Tony wanted to say something, but Su Mu had already hung up the communication. He ordered Loki. Order Dr. Sylvig to open the portal. At the same time, Su Mu waved his fingers and opened the portal in front of him, allowing Captain America, Dr. Banner and others to pass through, and he was the last one to pass through. The portal led Su Mu and others to the top floor of Stark, and at this time, Dr. Sylvig turned on the instrument. Boom! With the help of precision instruments, the space cube finally exerted its due power. A blue ray containing huge energy instantly shot out from the top of Stark Tower, piercing through the clouds, and slowly opened a huge portal in the air. Looking at the portal slowly opening in the sky, Su Mu smiled grimly. The Earth is my territory, and the mere Chitauri want to get involved? It's time to show them some color. P.S. The portal in the sky above New York. The current scene has attracted the attention of the whole of New York. In the laboratory of Xavier's genius teenager, Beast Hank looked at the instrument in front of him, and the energy fluctuations emitted from it have exceeded the limit of ordinary level 5 mutants. He immediately said to Professor X next to him. Professor, Stark Tower emits huge energy fluctuations, and there seems to be a portal leading to a corner of a certain location. Professor X put his finger on his temple, and the ritual descended through space to a passerby around Stark Tower, and saw the portal slowly opening in the air through the passerby's sight. He immediately said to Beast Hank. Hank, inform Jean and the others, the X-Men are on the move. At the same time, in a corner of the universe, a huge titan sat on the throne of the king. He sensed something and looked in the direction of the planet called Earth. The elegant wizard Ebony Maw on the side said respectfully to the purple-skinned titan. Lord Thanos, this is the first step in your great cause.